What's up, weebs? Welcome back to Melina, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. As always, I'm your host, Notorious. Joining me once again today is Shaun.
Hello.
And Melina.
Hello.
You guys being like, it's still fucking me up a little bit.
You'll get used to it.
I'm still used to Shaun being on my right, Melina on my left. Anyway, we're finally getting in the robot today in Neon Genesis Evangelion and its follow-up conclusion, The End of Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion is directed and written by Hideki Anno, music by Shiro Sagasu, animation production by Gainax. Aired on the TV Tokyo Network in Japan from October 4th to 1995 to March 7th, 1996 for 26 episodes. It is licensed in the UK, US, and Australia by Anime Limited, G-Kids, and Madman respectively, and is currently available on Blu-ray via those distributors in their region. It is also streaming on Netflix. I need to catch my breath for End of Eva. Jesus Christ. The End of Evangelion is written by Hideki Anno and directed by himself and Kazuya Tsurumaki. Music is by Shiro Sagasu again. Animation production by Gainax again. It released in Japanese theaters July 19th, 1997, 4 days after I was born.
Fun fact.
Not 5 days. Not 4 days, 5 days. It's also licensed in by the distributors previously mentioned and currently bundled with the TV series and Blu-ray releases, along with the recap Death True Squared, Death True 2, I don't know.
358/2.
Which was originally released as Death and Rebirth. The Death section is the recap previously mentioned, and the Rebirth section was a work print of the first 28 minutes of The End of Evangelion, which I think may be included in the Ultimate Edition. I'll get to that. The film is also available to stream on Netflix. It should be noted that the current home video releases or the Netflix version do not include the various versions of Fly Me to the Moon used during the end credits or other portions where it was used as BGM due to the exorbitant cost to relicense it. The standard version of the home video release and Netflix also do not include the original dub or subtitle script produced by EVD Productions. This version is, however, included on the Ultimate Edition and the Collector's Edition as a separate set of discs under the Classic Version demarcation.
Holy fuck.
Because this Evangelion is a whole lot of complicated licenses.
I do know that to some extent.
Yeah, so we'll start with that before we get properly into it, because there's not going to be anywhere else that it makes sense to really bring up.
Go with the tech stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Why has my right headphone just
It happened to me as well, okay.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, what?
It happened when I was moving. Did I fucking move something?
I think it happened when you moved, yeah.
Is it because it's because this wire is here? Hold on, if I just like gently put it down.
That's changed nothing.
No.
That's what I'm hoping for, and I just don't move. Sorry, tech stuff.
No, so Evangelion came out in Japan 1995-96, and then it was like the early mid-2000s that ADV picked it up. They dubbed and subtitled it. They released it on VHS and DVD, and it sort of became like a cult classic type thing. You know, it found like wild success. It's one of those kind of pillar entry animes that, or it was, as with the passage of time, these things change. I mean,
I'd still say it is on some level.
I think now that it's on Netflix, probably it's come back. But like that period where it had fallen into licensing hell.
Oh yeah, that definitely made it hard. But I think you still had people talking about, because I knew about Eva.
Yeah.
Like, about even like 10 years ago, just through like
that's
word
the thing
of
though,
mouth.
that's 10 years ago. Anime's like it's progressively kind of becoming like no one's talking anymore about Death Note, no one's really talking about Eva anymore, no one's really talking about Lucky Star. No one's talking about the sort of like stuff that I ended up finding to get into it, and the big titles that everyone talked about in 2014 when I started watching anime.
I remember we're past that era of the weeb cycle.
Yeah, so it's like it's whatever is currently Crunchyroll is putting in Times Square, I think.
Oshinoko probably has got to be in there.
Oshinoko is probably up there. I think that's more through internet virality than anything else. But then you've got like stuff like Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan and so yeah, the landscape's a little different. But ADV picked it up, they dubbed it and subtitled it, and they had their original release, and then there was the renewal of Evangelion release in Japan, which remixed the audio into 5.1, made some changes to the episode previews, a couple other things, and so that became the platinum release through ADV, and that was like the sort of the preferred way to watch it. It's very rare now, very expensive to pick up, and at the time still had Fly Me to the Moon, blah, blah, blah. Then there was the rebuilds, which are the film retelling, quote unquote, of the story, which is once you reach the end of the second movie, it goes in its own direction, but that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
Third movie comes out, it's shown at an anime con as like a premiere. And there are not Gainax employees there, because by this point, Hideki Anno had left Gainax. Gainax was a shell of its former self by this point. Okay. Every major creative had left. Anno had left in the early mid 2000s, and by this point, Hiroyuki Imaishi had left with like half of the creative team and created Studio Trigger.
Wow, that's a nice connection.
Us here, yeah. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because while Imaishi was there, he created Gurren Lagann. So that was like Gainax's last big title before they're now bankrupt as of this, or they're filing for bankruptcy as of like a couple of weeks ago from recording. Not really, nothing's with them anymore. Kara has full
At this
license
point, nothing of value is lost.
No, Evangelion fully belongs to Kara and Anno now, and pretty much everything that Imaishi worked on, is now with Studio Trigger. So rights are where they should be.
Okay, cool.
Nothing's lost.
We're in the good ending.
Yeah, so Studio Kara employees are there to watch it, and of course we're gonna get to this, but Kaoru and Shinji's relationship, very what's the word? Not homoerotic, but like
it's very, there's a lot of subtext.
Yeah, it's
very alluding.
Yes, there's very sort of clear implications that
I mean, he straight up says I love you.
That's what Kaoru says, but I think more so in Shinji's response to Kaoru being
it's feels very recuperated.
You mean reciprocated?
I know what I meant. I just say words sometimes and hope I'm aiming right.
So I would say that it's very fair to probably interpret Shinji as bi.
Yeah.
Because he very clearly also likes Asuka, which we'll get to End of Evangelion.
I mean, there's
we'll get there.
And so the third movie has Kaoru showing up, and I won't spoil anything because we will eventually watch the rebuild movies. But there's more time for their relationship because Kaoru's in that entire movie, or most of that movie, I should say. So it's like 90 minutes.
Not to jump the gun, but I will say that my thought would be, to do this again, I would have given him more time.
So Kaoru's original, impact in the series had to be drawn back. So
he's only in one episode.
And you would think the impact he has in the fandom, he's in a lot more of it. So the Gainax employees there, it's being shown to the audience for the first time. I can't remember if it was the dub or if it was the sub version, but it doesn't really matter. It turned out the same anyway. And during the Kaoru Shinji scenes, the Kara employees were like disturbed by the fan reaction to them, because there were times where certain lines were kind of funny, whether intentional or not, but that's always gonna happen. And so Kara kicked up a fuss, and 3.0 specifically went through several back and forths fixing the dub and the subtitle script before it could come out. Gay. They tried to make it less gay, but the subtext is still there. I wouldn't necessarily say this was this was not the height of their meddling. This is very small beans.
Oh fuck!
Because at least that script it flows like a human wrote it.
Oh no! And not by a committee.
Come to 2015, 2016, and Netflix announces they have Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Because that went up like 2018ish.
Yeah, that's it. And it's not with the original ADV dub. And it's got a whole new...
Oh yeah, it has a new cast.
It has a whole new cast, and it has a whole new subtitle script. That the reason we didn't watch it on Netflix, one, no Fly Me to the Moon. And I think there's certain scenes, the impact of that is important. It also, it's very stilted, very not human to read.
Oh.
The subtitles. The dub is okay. I will
I've heard
say
good
the
stuff about
cast
the
have
cast.
done really well. Yeah, and I think some of the casting choices were really good. But they still had to deal with, you know, the fact that Studio Kara was like pretty heavy on meddling, and so they tried to draw back like what the intention of Kaoru's line was, and it's like, but I don't know how else you're meant to
It seems
read
very
it.
clear.
Especially with like what the series is about, which is adolescence, and that's when you're going through puberty. That's when you're discovering your sexuality. It's when you're discovering who you like, what you don't like, your identity. And so I think it's perfectly valid for Kaoru to be something of an awakening for Shinji in some capacity.
It's realistic.
So yeah, it's stilted. It's a bit of a mess. I think they might have fixed it a little bit for the home video release, but for the home video release, Kara was very strict on what could and couldn't be done, and so that's why you end up with a whole separate set of discs that you can only buy in certain expensive versions.
If it's getting to that point, then
yes, they basically want to wipe the original subtitle and dub from existence.
Wow.
A full-on George Lucas.
The height of their meddling comes with their rebuilds being released on Prime Video, where they redubbed all 3 previous ones before the 4th one came out, and brought back some cast members who didn't come back for. So the rebuilds, ATV was dead by the time rebuilds came out, so it was Funimation. They got most of the cast. They got a really good amount of the original dub cast back.
So they tried.
They tried, yeah, but like one of the actresses had like essentially retired by that point, so she was replaced. That's fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
And obviously, you know, the whole shit goes down. The 4th movie is in production hell for like a decade. It doesn't come out until 2021.
Yeah, because I'll admit, and I want to state, I didn't try and like read anything into this like before we like talked about this, but I did look into like about some very vague stuff about like the rebuild stuff, and I saw that like the first one came out in what, 2007?
Yeah.
And like the last one came out in what, 2021?
Yes.
That's weird.
So 3 came out in 2012.
Ah, okay.
And 4 came out in 2021. Hideki Anno made a whole Godzilla movie in between. And so, yeah, they, you know, essentially strip the license from Funimation and give it, for some reason, to Prime Video, to Amazon. And they handle everything. So the subtitles are, they're fine.
Iffy.
Yeah, they got a nice little passover for the home video release, so they're a bit better. Or at least on the 4th movie. We haven't had like a re-release of the first 3. But when they dubbed it, they went back and kind of brought back some more of the actors, specifically the one who had retired, which caused a bit of consternation between fans because it was like taking away a paying job from someone else for someone who's made their money, and this person got a bit. They maybe should have not said stuff on Twitter.
Oh no!
Basically complaining about not getting the job the first time round.
Oh boy, that's a whole thing. I feel like we just don't want to get.
Yeah, and maybe I'm confusing it with someone else, but I'm sure that's the person. Anyway, whole point of me talking about this dub, they only dubbed the dialogue.
Oh,
and people at home may be thinking, yeah, that's what dubbing is. However, I mean specifically just dialogue.
So no. Yeah, exactly.
There is clearly the moment from End of Evangelion, where Shinji
is screaming,
yelling his guts out.
A similar moment happens in the 4th movie, and it is very clearly Megumi Ogata and not the voice actor.
Oh, that's so out of place.
The English voice actor. It's very jarring because one of them is very clearly voiced in the English dub by a male, and you know, when you hear it compared to the Japanese version, you go, oh, that's very clearly a female. Even though, you know, it passes in Japanese.
Yeah,
you know, it's very common for
one's got like a deeper voice and then suddenly it's a very high voice.
So yeah, Kara are very strict with Evangelion. to sum all of this up
Yeah.
and how messy it is. I mean, that's not to say that the releases we have are not good. They're very comprehensive. There's a lot of bonus features. There is a whole book that's included with the Ultimate Edition. However, that Ultimate Edition did cost, when it came out, £200.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, guess who bought that?
Hi.
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
Why are you surprised?
Honestly,
It's a lot of money.
no. Honestly,
For Evangelion.
did right here.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
That was like an instant buy for me. Like
Yeah,
100%. Did not care how much it cost. Even before it had sold out, it was already reselling for 300, 400, 500
Yeah,
pound
yeah.
on eBay. So I dread to think how much it is now, considering that was 2022 and it was out of print before it even released. So
I'm not getting it.
I think some of the collector's editions are still available to kind of try and keep the classic version still available. However, as far as quote-unquote collector's editions go, they are bare bones but cost like double the price of most other collector's editions. I think because of the extra set of discs. So normally you're looking at like 60 for a full series, and it's 120 roughly for some of the collector's editions, because they put out like I think 3 different versions.
Ugh.
So yeah, we'll actually get into the actual fucking episode already.
Yeah, geez, this has all just been like re-releases. And
This has
that's
just all been re-releases where it currently stands. If you want to watch it, you know, obviously I assume people have seen it if they're coming at this episode. If you haven't,
Oh no, go watch it.
yeah. And we are doing this as one big episode.
Yeah.
And just, you know, we talk about these things obviously before we record them, and in the sense of like planning stuff out. And Melina did ask if we could split it up, and I was very adamant.
You got overturned.
Yeah, I was like, it makes sense. Right? And you're like, absolutely not.
Now that you've seen it, do you understand?
Yes and no. I think everything can be split in a part 1.
I
part two.
don't.
No,
I don't.
I'm fully with Michael on this one. I think we needed to have this in one episode.
We couldn't have done this like Oshinoko.
No, I don't think we could have
But
done
we
it.
couldn't have done it in part 1 and part 2 either, because up until like halfway through, even up until episode 18, nothing quote unquote has happened.
Yeah, like in terms of like the big stuff that happens
Yeah.
near the end.
Stuff happens, it's very episodic, but there's not a lot to talk about outside of like moments. Which sounds like a negative thing. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's-
you know,
Those are still good episodes.
yeah, I love the show. Anyway, we'll get to it.
But hold on, just to end that thought, I also would have gone on a riot if we had to split up the series and End of Evangelion.
Oh yeah, End of Evangelion can't really be separated.
Because there's no fucking way I would have like sat with just the original series ending. Not, I didn't even dislike it, but like, no, I'm not waiting like to watch End of Evangelion when having just watched that.
So, who wants to start? And where do we start?
Where do we start?
I think, what did we know about the series going in? Because Shaun and I hadn't seen it before. This was your third
Yeah.
watch.
I had watched it last year. Before that, the first time was in 2015. So a while.
Yeah.
Wow,
before.
around the time the show takes place.
Yeah, pretty much, which never even
Yeah.
occurred to me at the time. But we view time very differently now, thanks to a certain incident that happened in the world.
Shush.
We don't talk about that. No.
The incident.
The incident. The second impact.
It feels like we're on impact number 4.
Oh, it does, yeah. So yeah, the third time round, I'm very familiar with it at this point. And obviously, I'd seen the rebuilds too, because I was on that whole journey between 3 and 4, waiting for it to come out. I was also waiting for 3 to come out because obviously, like I mentioned, Jiro Kara and their whole back and forth. It meant that it got delayed. It may have come out in the US prior to, and even though it uses the Funimation Master, it didn't come out in the UK until like I think 2016. So it had gone back and forth that much, and that numerous delays. And I've read the manga, and I've read half of the semi-sequel light novels that start off really interestingly, but they kind of hit a point of like, I just don't fucking care.
Okay.
Halfway through, it gets lost in the sauce a little bit.
Well, that's completely uncharacteristic
What?
for Evangelion.
No, lost in the sauce in the sense of it's so heavily focused on like a plot that things are happening, but it's just not very interesting.
Okay.
And yeah, so that takes place in like a slightly different version of the ending, and there's also another spin-off manga I read. So I'm very familiar.
You're the expert of this group.
Of this group, yes. I'm not gonna say I'm the expert. I'm sure there's people who have watched it far more times than me and have very different interpretations, but I will argue with some of them until my dying breath. Mainly, I don't like. Sorry, I'm taking up time with random little things.
No, go ahead. This is a big episode. You have the space.
True. You guys haven't seen much mech stuff.
No.
We've only you guys have only really seen Gundam outside of this, specifically.
And I suppose Pro Bear you can add.
Oh yeah, Promare's another kind of mech
yeah.
thing. That falls into a similar category where this is like light super robot. That's Promare's like mega, full on super robot.
I feel like Neon Genesis kind of, you start off with mech and then slowly you're like, oh wait, no.
Yeah, you start
there's something else here.
You start with real robot and devolve into like super robot, and because Unit 1 essentially becomes God at some point.
That little thing.
That little thing. So, and my most hated interpretation that people constantly run with is this is a deconstruction of the mech genre, when it's not. If you have actually watched mech,
which you are an expert in.
I am an expert in. I love mech. I love mech anime. I love big robots. It's very clearly a love letter to that genre. It is so
absolutely.
For a show that like is maybe 25% mech in comparison to other shows, because the Evas just sometimes don't appear in episodes a lot of the time.
They're not as big a deal as you'd think as an outsider.
Yeah.
Which I will say that caught me a little off guard. Happily. But
yeah. But like it's very clear that Anno loves the mech genre.
He knows the ins and outs of it.
It's also like a love letter to Tokusatsu as well. The Angel and the battles between the Evas are very, reminiscent of like, Tokusatsu, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, and there's episodes that are very reminiscent of like other like mech shows and stuff like that. So yeah, to call it a deconstruction of the genre is beyond dumb.
I don't think
it is a predominantly common take.
Yeah, I don't think the two have to necessarily be mutually exclusive, but it does feel more like a love letter, and I would say than a deconstruction.
I think people confuse the two different things that are going on. One is the very clearly inspired mech stuff that devolves into something very different, which is a deconstruction of itself rather than anything else.
Yeah,
it's very meta contextual.
Absolutely.
I don't know why I said meta like that. Anyway, so that's my familiarity with the series. Sorry.
Yeah.
Talking, Shaun.
So I'm sort of like, I feel like a lot of the time I'm like sort of half and half between you being very familiar and you not being familiar at all. Because like obviously sort of being around weeb circles but never being fully in them for so long, I knew of Evangelion. I knew that it was huge and like very popular, and I knew it was deep to some extent. People talk about it like it's deep at the very least as an outsider, so I knew it was a thinking sort of anime, which it's kind of funny to say now, having seen it. I thought, but
I think it's that same way of like that Death Note is clever.
Like it's clever when you're watching it as a 13-year-old.
And like you can still enjoy that like back and forth that Light and L have, but at the same time it's not a thinking man.
You step outside, you step like one step above it and you're like, oh, this is just sort of beginner stuff. But I knew it was mech related, and I had heard the sort of deconstruct thing before, which, and now that I've seen it, I agree with you, not really. But beyond that, I didn't know much about the actual plot itself, and like I knew character names.
It's hard to sum up the plot. That's the thing, really, isn't it?
I could not explain to you what
because you have a plot, and then the plot doesn't get resolved,
No.
even in End of Evangelion. It is a resolution of some sort, more so than the TV
Yeah.
series ending.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's a resolution of
No.
most of what's been set
No,
up.
Yeah. I mean, the show kind of feels like it collapses by the end.
Yeah, which I'm not sure how much is to do with production issues or more so just to do with like a thing that's consistent with Hideki Anno, and that's he sets out with an idea.
And then it evolves as it goes on.
And either it evolves as it goes on, or he is so
Lost in the sauce.
mentally, like, I don't want to say challenged, because that sounds like I'm being mean, but I
No.
mean that he has so many mental health issues that those override a lot
Yeah,
of
it
things.
becomes a therapy session.
Because that's essentially what the fourth rebuild movie ends up becoming.
Okay.
To the point, a lot of it's just pure nonsense.
To basically sum up my familiarity before watching it, I knew character names, some designs, the theme, and congratulations. That's about it.
We'll get there.
I want you to say the names.
I don't want
Oh, I love that you're like, because you're notoriously bad with names. The fact that
If you listen to
I know
any
a
of
name.
There's one name in specifically a lot of people mispronounce.
I'm
Well,
scared.
mispronunciation, I think, can happen.
No, I mean full on
You see, the thing
is not correct.
the thing is, now that
cool.
we're all focusing on it, I feel like I'm gonna fuck it up even more.
This is like me trying to
it.
name quotes.
yeah.
Okay.
Go
Do you want
on.
Melina to start?
No,
And
don't.
then
No,
you just
no,
come
no, no.
back?
I will
No,
take this
no, yeah, yeah.
responsibility.
Okay.
If I fuck up, I will fuck up. So we got Shinji.
Yep.
We got Asuka.
Asuka.
I basically said that.
No, you're putting too much emphasis on the U part. It's just Asuka, not
Asuka.
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 Essentially,
Like,
just
ask a
don't.
girl.
Yeah, just don't really
okay.
pronounce the U.
Okay, Asuka.
Aha, there you go.
We got Ray. Oh no.
We got three in.
We got 3 in.
Is it Misato?
Misato.
Yeah, that's
Misato.
fine. The stress is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gendo,
Yep.
who I usually call a word I don't want to say on the podcast. I've forgotten her name. Blonde scientist lady.
Oh, that's a complicated one, though.
They constantly switch between like her first name and last name.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So what is her last name?
Regis.
It begins with an R. I know
Yeah,
that.
Regis something.
No, so her given name's Ritsuko.
I don't know then.
We don't want to. We also don't want to fall into the trap.
Akagi.
Akagi,
That's her
that's
last
it,
name.
yeah.
Yeah. I literally have it in my notes. Blonde lady equals Akagi.
Yeah, I know her more. I call her Ritsuko most of the time.
Yeah.
But they do. Switch.
Yeah. They switch between a lot, so
Yeah.
it's fair. Karu. Hold on. What?
Kaoru.
Karu. What? No.
Just Kaoru.
Just Kaoru. Okay.
Uh-huh.
After that, it's sort of a black. Oh, Kaji.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I can really remember.
Yeah.
right now.
No, that's
That's the main
fair.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I passed.
A lot of people mispronounce Asuka's name. Either
Okay,
Well,
so
yeah.
that's the one. Okay, I don't feel so
Asuka, or,
stupid.
like how you were saying it, where there was too much emphasis on like the U, or
Yeah,
people
yeah.
straight up just calling her Asuka. Not even remotely
Almost,
close.
I almost fell into that trap, but I was actually hearing it
Yeah.
a bit, so I was like, no.
No,
Yeah.
that sounds weird.
Yeah, no, I don't know where anyone got that from.
Yeah, such a German name.
That's the thing.
We'll
Nothing
get into
about
it.
Asuka's name gives away that she's German. Not
I mean,
any
nothing
of the
about not
three
even the
names.
character, to be honest. Feels
No.
like apart from that one time she speaks apparently terrible German.
Horrible. Oh
I
my
was going to
God.
say, yeah, she does not speak good German.
No.
It's, I mean, to be fair, as a Japanese person
Yeah,
speaking
yeah.
German.
Which you could fucking tell.
Yeah,
Even
but
I could
that's like
tell.
when they're speaking English, you can
yeah.
tell.
I at least appreciate that they tried.
Yeah,
Bit of a weird character choice though. That doesn't really impact much.
yeah.
Like I thought she was Japanese before we watched like the show.
She is Japanese, but she's like Japanese German. So I think born in Germany. I can't remember.
From the what I understood, it seemed like she had spent like all her life in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think her dad's Japanese, if I recall correctly.
No.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Names.
You got most of them
Proud of you.
pretty spot on.
Yay!
Misato, Asuka. I think Ritsuko is another one that people mispronounce.
Yeah, but it's a difficult one.
It is a
Yeah, yeah,
difficult one. It relies on a lot of different types of pronunciation we're not familiar with in English.
Oh, I know one I definitely know how to pronounce. Class rep.
Oh, Hikari.
I don't know her actual name enough. They don't say it enough. They just call her class rep most of the time.
Her actual name's Hikari.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm just
and then
calling her
you've got
class rep.
you've got
Oh, the guy.
Suzuhara.
You've got sort of the three sort of crew members that are sort of like in mission control with Misato. So you've got, I think one of them is Maya.
Maya, that's Ritsuko's sort of like sidekick.
Yeah.
Protege. Yeah.
I like her.
Aoba, who sort of I think is in love with Misato.
There's an implication,
especially in the last
Yes.
like 4 episodes and End of Evangelion.
Yeah.
Which comes the fuck out of nowhere.
It really does. I was like, oh, that was your plot, huh?
And then there's the other one whose name I don't actually think gets mentioned at all.
Maybe
the one
once
with
or
the long
twice.
hair.
Yeah, long hair guy.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely can't recall his name. Then you've got Agendo's side man.
Oh, yeah,
Fuyutsuki,
yeah.
whose name's barely brought up, so that's fair to not remember it. Then you've got Yui, Shinji's mother. I don't think we ever get a name for Asuka's mother.
No, I don't think so. Just
other than just Mama.
Yeah.
I mean, she's dead.
We're literally just listing character names. What are we doing?
So am I?
You started us down this road.
Yes. Sorry, Melina. You said you didn't know anything about it, and then passed it to me. So I thought you were done. Sorry.
There's
Yes. No.
I know from memes.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Yeah,
the memes are the other.
Yeah, so from memes, all I know is that there's a whole thing. It's like, you have to watch this episodes, and then you go through this movie, and then you come back and watch this many episodes, and then you come back. That's the meme. Whether it's accurate, I don't know. That's the meme.
I wonder if people have co-opted a meme from another show and applied it to Eva when it doesn't make any sense to do so.
Could be.
It does sound familiar, like something like that, but I'm not sure what I could really pinpoint that actually.
It's probably another anime.
Because I know one specifically, it's Jonathan Banks, the actor from Breaking Bad, saying shit. Like, I mean, I think it's an AI or some voice actors like, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna first start and watch these episodes.
And then you're gonna go read the manga.
Then you're gonna go read until page this.
That wouldn't surprise me if people had done that, to be fair.
It sounds exactly like what they do.
Yeah.
And I also heard that there was a lot of like biblical symbolism in it.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
the
it's
other thing.
Generally very well regarded. I always try.
Oh, okay. I thought that point was tied to the biblical.
No,
for a second there. Sorry.
No, and I always refrain from kind of Googling anything, looking up reviews. So I went in basically blank besides these notes.
No,
untainted view.
Yeah. So that's what I knew, which is very little. I even forgot it was a mech show.
Yeah, we sort of talked about that.
Yeah, after we had a call, like after I watched the first few episodes, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot.
The poster is
if
right
I recall
there
correctly.
on the
Look at the
page.
poster.
If I recall correctly, you basically went, oh fuck, it's Max.
I think my note says, "Ah, shit, forgot I was Max." Also, I recognize the theme song, but I don't know from where. I think meme.
I mean,
Probably
it's everywhere.
memes. Yeah, it's a big meme. Or it gets used a lot.
It is used in a lot of things.
Yeah. So as soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh, that's this.
That's the
thing."
I will say there were some music cues, particularly and when they're in the house, like with like all together, like it's like sort of domestic sort of dun 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 dun.
Oh
sort of
yeah,
I didn't know that was from that.
That's used a lot as well.
Yeah, but that's used a lot in like I want to say like stuff like Pro ZD videos and stuff.
And you've got the other sort of iconic one, which is anytime they're in battle, and it's the dun dun dun.
Oh yeah,
dun,
yeah.
Dun dun, which is a reinterpretation of a Gundam music cue as well.
I knew it sounded familiar to Gundam.
Nice.
Because it's a love letter.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's basically all where our standings were before we watched the show.
Yeah. Okay. So where do we go from there?
Where did we start, man?
It's funny. This is such a challenging episode.
Yeah.
Even if we split it up, it would be a challenge. Because it's a lot.
Yeah, I took notes episode wise so I could kind of remember
I've
what
just got the
happened there.
episode list up here.
Yeah, and
I guess the first theme I noticed on what was going, just to jump in.
go ahead.
I didn't want to cut you off there.
No, a lot of my notes are that it's like, and it's angel time.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Do we want to go through my notes? Because I only took a handful, and they're more sort of like poking fun. And
Yeah,
things.
mine
Let's
are
have a
very
little
sporadic
ha-ha.
and don't really have any coherence. So you
So
go.
I only have a couple that are actually like of like worth. Episode 7 foreshadows both Asuka and I've written his name as Ryoji here, but I meant Kaji because Ryoji's his other name. Like, I don't know if it's his family name or not. I don't know.
I think it can be hard to tell in anime just
It
because of how
can,
Japanese names
yeah.
work. Like for us, it's hard to tell.
I think it's Ryoji. I think Ryoji's his family name because Misato and Ritsuko pretty much exclusively call him Kaji, and considering their
familiarity.
closeness with him.
Oh, they fucking.
Episode 7, which is the episode where the Jet Alone episode, the one where
They put a fucking nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
That's my note.
yeah.
Legit. I was
Which is-
like, let's see episode 7.
It's funny because
go
it's
ahead.
very common for nuclear reactors to be the core of a mech.
Yeah, you see, the thing is, I wanted to like poke fun of that. It's like, well, of course that's a fucking stupid idea. But then I kept wrestling with my head. I was like, but if this was a thing, that probably would be the power supply.
Yeah, no, I was just legit. My notes is, go ahead. Put a nuclear reactor in a mech. Let's see what happens.
I did the same thing. My exact words were like, give a nuclear reactor arms and legs and see what the fuck's gonna happen.
See, oh, what? The core's overloaded? What?
Oh, it's moving on its own. Oh,
how'd that
I
happen?
told you that.
Yeah.
So I have it written here that it foreshadows both Asuka and Kaji. Asuka very clearly, because they do mention the transfer of Unit 2 and the pilot.
Yeah.
But Kaji is very subtly done, where they mention near the end that you know how like Misato's trying to deactivate it from the inside and like the password's not working, and then suddenly it just stops. And she's like, "Oh, someone must have done this." That's like a clear indication as to Kaji showing up in the next episode, because that's
his sort of secret plotline.
Yeah, that's his whole thing, is that he's
double, triple agent.
Super Agent Kaji, yeah, I guess. Then I've got episode 8. Masato's nerve ID has her age, her 3 measurements, and her weight on it.
Yeah.
Which she's quite rightly scribbled out.
Yeah.
Though
fuck that.
in episode, I think it's like 25 or something, we actually see it uncensored. Which caused a whole existential crisis in me, where like I don't think her age actually makes sense within the continuity of the show.
Yeah, because what was her canon age again?
29, and the second impact happens in 2000, which means she would have been 14. But we see her in flashbacks, like post second impact.
She's a 10-year-old
looks
at
like
most.
10.
Yeah, because if you compare that character design to like Shinji,
who are all 14.
Yeah.
absolutely not.
Unless aging has worked a difference since the second impact.
Sure, whatever.
Well,
in this show, it could fucking make sense.
in the rebuilds.
Oh no!
There's a whole thing about the pilot's ages that comes up in the third movie, but we'll get.
We are not here in that
get there.
episode.
Yeah, it's just funny that. And then I also wrote, why are Suzuhara and Kensuke with them on this like journey to pick up Asuka?
Good question.
Yeah, why? Why are they there? They are citizens.
Yeah.
They are kids.
Yeah, they're civilians, not citizens. Civilians. They're also kids. They do not have military clearance to be on a UN ship carrying a top secret super robot.
Because Shinji wants his friends.
It's not Shinji's decision, it's Misato.
Misato's
I know, she
like-
wants him to have his friends there.
Which,
She's trying to be a good guardian. That's my
Yeah.
interpretation.
That's what I assumed as well. It's like, so
I
just
guess,
keep
but
it entertained.
I guess that also ties into Misato's whole girl failure energy.
I love her.
I love her for that.
Oh yeah,
I love her
same.
so much.
Embrace the chaos.
Yeah.
girl.
Literally, I
Yeah.
said to you when I was watching, like, I think the first or second episode when we go to her home, and like she opens the fridge and it's just full of beer,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, Queen. You stand a queen.
Slay.
Slay. Work.
Jinx.
Then,
Yo me a brew.
then I've got episode 9 is the first time that pattern blue is used directly to identify an angel, which is another meme that comes up quite a bit.
I can imagine.
And then episode 10, Kaji fucking mailed a penguin.
Yeah.
We never got an explanation of why the penguin's there.
No, he
No,
just
he's
puts
there.
them in a
It's a
fucking
fact.
box
Yeah.
and mails them there. What the fuck, Kaji?
Why is the penguin there? I
Yeah.
love the penguin. I love Pen, but why is he there? Why is there a penguin in the show?
I want to briefly just go back to like episode 9, because that's where first Shinji and Asuka are kind of expected to work together.
Yeah.
And how they decide to showcase in a montage they learn to work together. Dance Dance Revolution.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dance Revolution / Twister.
It is the
Yeah.
90s.
I was
I feel like
you can't
TTR was more of a
compare it.
2000s thing, though.
Yeah.
No, it started
Japan.
really becoming a thing in Japan in
Yeah.
the late 90s, yeah.
I say that, Japan.
Uh-huh.
They had it like a decade earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the mid 90s was like the real like arcade revolution for them.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because obviously we had arcades, or I'm saying I mean like
We the people.
the US and I guess
Yeah.
the UK to an extent. We had like the
UK
arcades in the 80s in the
Yeah.
sense of like
By the time the 90s came around, arcades were dead because
Yeah.
home consoles had just completely,
Uh-huh.
especially over here when the PlayStation came out, that just
Yeah.
completely fucked up all that.
whereas it was a bit different in Japan because you had like Sega doing like the Model 2 and Model 3 where
Yeah.
they were really kind of keeping it alive.
And I think that was a loud car.
Yeah.
I think maybe not until it's like very recently, but Sega's like main powerhouse industry is still arcades in Japan.
Yeah. Especially what's it called again? Pachinko.
Oh, Pachinko, yeah.
Which is basically what Konami exclusively does at this point now
Yeah.
too.
Anyway,
Yeah. Sorry. Do you have any other?
No, I just
You just wanted to bring up DDR.
I just had it as a note, like that's how you're gonna showcase them getting along, not some kind of.
I mean, they're
It's
still not
90s
getting
Japan.
along.
I mean, they managed to work together.
Yeah, that's
the
not
arc
them
of the
getting
episode.
along.
no.
No, because at the end of the episode, they're fighting
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Given
But
when this was made and the age of the characters, it
Yeah.
makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
Yeah. But I think it was this episode where I was really, like, finally
Getting
realizing you're putting so much faith in children.
That's
Yeah.
the point.
Overall
That is,
point.
yeah, that's the
But
theme.
it's because at first I was like, oh, Shinji's 14, but he's the boss's kid. So I'm like, okay, I guess
That does
weird.
not get him any.
No,
preferential
they make
treatment.
it clear.
That's what I'm saying, but from a viewer's perspective.
Yeah.
That's what you think. It's like, okay, weird, I guess, but fine.
Hmm.
And then it's like, oh, we're bringing another 14-year-old?
To be fair, from the outset, it very clearly shows that Gendo does not
He fucking hates Shinji.
consider anything of Shinji.
Well, he doesn't
No,
hate
we know
Shinji. He
that.
just
No,
refuses
but-
to care about
That's
Shinji.
why I said like doesn't consider anything of
Yeah.
him.
Is it ever explained why it has to be 14-year-olds? Because
Not
I don't
Not
think
in
really.
the
so.
TV show.
Okay. Because that's a whole point where I was like, I just want one line where they're like, oh, it has to be an underdeveloped brain or something.
I will say I was kind of expecting like an explanation by the end of the show, and that didn't happen.
Because it just feels so exploitative.
That
Without
again
reason.
meant to be a point.
For me,
Yeah, no, I
for me, I
understand
think
that.
it sort of felt like expecting a deconstruction of the whole thing. I was like, oh, they should maybe explain that then, but they don't. They don't.
I
Yeah.
don't think it ever gets an explanation until the rebuilds maybe. Like I just don't think it was ever something they considered to like explain.
At the very least, there is half an explanation with Rei because of just her whole nature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the other two,
The other two, it's weird because it's like there are sort of like certain things you just shouldn't think too hard about, and that's the fact that Shinji can pilot Unit 1 because Yui, his mother, fused with it, and,
Yeah.
and Asuka can pilot Unit 2 because her mother fused with it,
yeah.
but then Toji gets picked as a pilot, and I don't know if the implication is meant to be because as
Sister.
it turns out later, his sister's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always thought the implication was that his sister fused with
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
but
that would have made
that's
sense
not
if we were
the
going with
case.
that. But they
Yeah.
don't really make that explicit.
No,
And again, they
and the unit wasn't even built in
No.
Japan. It was built in the US.
Yeah.
And as we find out, anyway, it was an angel, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
So there's like some things where it's like, if you think too hard about it, it doesn't make too
There's
much
also
sense.
the other thing, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just completely misremembering something or misinterpreting what was happening, but like by the end when we get like Asuka's like flashbacks to her mum, like when she finds her spoiler alert, when she finds her mum fucking dead,
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
on her way to tell her that she's been selected to train as like a pilot, isn't she?
Yeah, but that's still in the like
I know it's in the mental scape.
No.
but-
I mean, at that point, they're still the Evangelions are still in the experimental phase.
I know, but she's been selected even way before, like...
But the whole thing with Yui hadn't even happened yet.
Yeah, true.
Because Shinji would have been about the same age. So I think Yui.
I keep forgetting
and,
that, like, for some reason, my mind... I know it's not true, and it's made explicitly clear that it's not, but I keep forgetting that Yui didn't die in the second impact.
Yeah.
'Cause it feels like that would have... For some reason, my mind is like, oh yeah, she died then. But no, she died in 2004.
Yeah. I think probably Asuka's mum and Yui, those events probably happen around the same point in time.
Yeah, because they seem about the same age.
Yeah, because at that point, I still don't think they
Understand?
or like can make the Evangelion function.
Okay.
Because like until Shinji shows up, they've never been able to have Unit 1 move.
Yeah.
And they've had issues with Rei and Unit 0
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like it goes berserk.
Like the first time we see Rei outside of like that little flash where Shinji sees her for like a second.
Yeah.
Like she's all bandaged up and stuff.
Yeah. And then we found out later that it was Gendo that, but yeah. That's,
Yeah.
Ugh.
What else do I have written here? I can't remember what this is in reference to. Hold on, episode 11. Oh yeah, she calls Asuka calls Rei a self-righteous bitch, which I was like, Asuka has no right to call anyone that.
I feel like that's like the point. Like
Projection.
that's the absolute
Yeah.
Like that's straight up just projection.
Uh-huh.
Which is I think is our theme of our entire character.
Yeah. Then I've got episode 15 when Kaji and Misato are like having their little walk at night. Fly Me to the Moon obviously plays under it in the version we watched because I synced up the Japanese Blu-ray audio because if you buy the Japanese version that still has Fly Me to the Moon because music licensing rates
Fast forward.
Yeah, in the international release it's just the cicadas chirping away in the background, which makes it very
Funny.
yeah, a little bit.
And awkward.
And awkward, yeah, very much so. They just didn't put any replacement track underneath it for some reason. They have a plethora of music from Shiro Sagasu and just didn't. And then I think the same thing happens in episode, is it 22? When Misato was listening to Kaji's like voicemail and she knows like he's dead. That
Like
starts
she's crying
playing,
on it and stuff.
that starts playing Fly Me to the Moon. And again, in the international release, there's just no music replacement there.
It's a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then last note, which is actually sort of important, well, not really, but episode 25, you sort of see Ritsuko and Misato's death prior to the end of Evangelion. But for Misato, it looks completely different.
Yeah.
For Ritsuko, it's pretty much the same, but we end up in End of Evangelion, they sort of dance around showing her body. It's very framed out.
Yes.
Whereas we actually see her with a gunshot wound in the back.
Yeah.
Or I assume the front because she gets shot in the front. But anyway, yeah. So that's my notes. I am, as you can probably tell, horrible at note taking.
I mean, in a show like this, I feel like note taking can be kind of weird.
I just suck at it. I can't do it. It's not my strong suit. It's not how my brain functions.
For me, when I take notes, it's basically just whatever my thought is in the moment down on paper, and there's a lot, but they're all very sporadic and like incoherent. Like some of them are just like questions, like what is the script? Because they talk about like when
so that's the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes. So Saley finds a thing known as the Dead Sea Scrolls, which I think are real. I think are
Okay,
real,
they're a real thing.
Yeah.
Because they did sound familiar.
Yeah, so I think they're a real thing that exists. And in the show, they detail out like
The prophecy
of like the third impact,
Yeah.
or an impact, because as we find out throughout the course of the series, in 2000, the second impact was them trying to create this process, but as they found out later, they needed to wait until all the angels had appeared. So yeah, that's what the Dead Sea Scrolls are. They lay out Saley's plan.
Seele,
Seele
okay.
are behind Nerve.
I was gonna ask, how do you pronounce Seele? Because
it's a bit strange.
because I've been pronouncing Seele.
The way it's written makes it seem like it stands for something, but as far as I know, it doesn't. But it's the same with Nerve. I don't think it actually stands for anything.
Because like one of my instincts was also to just call it Seele, but like that just sounds clunky.
I think they pronounce it as Zale in the show.
Okay.
But I think it's Seele.
Seele, okay.
Yeah. So that's
trying to figure that whole thing out, by the way, while this was all going on.
Yeah.
Was a head rush.
Yeah. So yeah, that's their plan, and as we find out, Gendo's sort of working to his own agenda at the same time.
He just wants to get back with his wife.
Pretty much, yeah. He wants to fuck.
To the detriment of everyone around him, including his child.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wants to fuck.
Men, am I right?
Yeah.
Work.
Slay.
Yeah, so you mentioned having a list of questions. Is that your only question? Because I'll try a rapid fire answer of these questions.
I'm trying to find like so what is Adam?
Adam. So Adam is the embryo we see that Kaji brings Gendo, but it's not the giant thing
at
we
the
see.
end.
That's Lilith.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Adam.
No, so it's they say it's Adam to hide the fact that it's actually Lilith.
Okay.
Because that's part of Gendo's deception.
Side question on all of this: Lilith and Lilum, are those different things?
So this ties into something that the show I don't think does a great thing of explaining. Adam and Lilith are two separate.
Do they become Lilum?
No. So
Okay.
I'm gonna get to this. So Lilith and Adam are two essentially things that have fallen to Earth.
Okay, aliens.
Essentially, yeah, but they're opposing races in the sense of like you can't have both evolve. The angels come from Adam and humans come from Lilith.
Oh, okay.
And so in the show, the deception is that that humans come from Adam.
Yeah, because that's sort of what they imply, like, and like the angels are sort of like cousins in a sense.
But it's actually that the angels come from Adam, and they're sort of like not necessarily an invasive species, but because we developed and took over Earth, they are like, they're in like a late stage or a later like a later development
cycle
period, where they're currently evolving, sort of like how we evolved into humans. But because they take like they would have taken a different path. That
comes into conflict with us.
And so Adam, Gendo actually absorbs Adam, which is his hand, and you see an End of Evangelion is all like fucked up. That's Adam.
Okay.
And because they say that again, because the whole deception thing, they say that like Rey is like a result of Adam, but she's not. She's like a clone of Yui made from like Lilith's cells.
You know what this reminds me of so much? Fucking Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, no, you know what? That's fair.
With the whole like Genova and the whole in-universe like confusion of her being an ancient, but she's not an ancient. She's an alien, and the whole Sephiroth soldier and her cells thing. It reminds me so much of that.
Yeah,
it's almost insane.
Yeah. So the reason, so in the End of Evangelion, Gendo like fuses Adam with Lilith.
Okay.
And that's partially what spurs on the third impact, along with Shinji's decrepit mental state.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
wow.
That's Adam and Lilith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should read the manga at some point, because I feel like it clears up some of these
I definitely feel a pull to read the manga.
Anyway, yeah, so any other...
I had some more, but I'm not sure if they just get explained in the show. Yeah, one of my questions was also, what is Rey? But that sort of got explained in the show. And yeah, it's basically all my questions there. Oh, what is the Lance?
The Lance of Longinus. It is an instrument of the Human Instrumentality Project, which is essentially the idea of triggering the third impact.
Yeah,
and it's
all
key,
the souls combining, basically.
Yeah, it's key to triggering or having the process of the third impact happen it essentially... I'm trying to think how to word this.
I can see you really trying to like put this into any coherent words.
It's more, it's gonna, I don't know how to say this and not be crass. There is so much of the third impact that is about the idea of rebirth, and so much of the visual imagery is like sexual, but not sexualized.
Yeah.
Reproductive is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, because to jump to like End of Eva, when you've got that scene where like it seems to have happened, and like you've got combined Shinji and combined Rei like together, there's like an obvious the imagery like of where they are and like position with each other is very sort of sexual reproduction, but they're not sexualized in that moment at
mean, there is a point where a full-on vagina develops on, I think it's the giant Rei's head.
Yeah.
It's essentially again, this is all my personal interpretation, so other people could have different thoughts, and I may be wrong.
Your mileage may vary.
To me, the Lance of Longinus is the phallus.
Yeah, when you explain it like that makes a lot of sense.
Because when the Lance of Longinus...
It's first in Adam, right?
It's in Lilith.
It gets put in
It's
Adam,
used to... It's used to prevent Lilith's full development.
Yeah.
Later it gets stuck in the moon, and then when the third impact happens...
I love that you can just throw out later it just gets stuck on the moon.
Yeah, because Rei throws it at an angel and it ends
to
up
save Asuka.
Yeah, and then it gets brought back down by... I think when Shinji... I can't remember. Is it when Shinji...
I think it just sort of summons it.
I think it just sort of gets summoned, yeah.
Which is a shame, because they made such a big deal. It's like, god damn,
we can't fucking get it. Why'd you do that?
It's in space!
Now we have to use the spare, but it's not as good.
And so when that's called down, and when it's like the core of the Unit 1 is exposed, which is essentially like the core of an angel, we see it sort of inching closer, and when they actually merge and become one, it's very like clear what that's meant to represent, and how it looks is that it's very much meant to be penetration.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Lance of Longinus is
the phallus.
Phallus, and Unit 1 is the...
What's the term for that?
Yeah, what is the term?
Or...
So you got phallus, which represents like penis and stuff like that. Is there a word?
I don't know.
I don't know either,
Yeah. So yeah, the... Lance of Longinus
the internal organ.
I don't like that. The Lance of Longinus is the phallus, and the Unit 1's core, I guess, is the
How brass do I want to be and just say hole?
Yeah.
The womb.
I think that's the best way I can explain it, and again, that's just my own interpretation.
Which I'd say makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just going off of like
all the symbolism,
the
and
intense amount of vaginal imagery that comes up later as well.
Yeah, they kind of bring that out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah,
that just happens.
I did not expect to see a full-on clip.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Didn't expect that either.
No, I was looking at it and I'm like, that looks... Oh, it is!
I mean, do we want to talk about how End of Eva starts?
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So is that your question?
I think those are all my questions at that point. Everything else was basically answered from what I could tell.
Okay. Melina, you also wrote questions. Yes. Fire away.
So the mechs, let's not call them like the Evas.
Yes.
They have armor.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it brightly colored?
Style.
I don't have an explanation for that.
Style.
That is like asking why the sun is orange.
No, because I was like, surely you'd want to camouflage slightly, because these are your...
I don't think that's going to do anything for them against the angels.
I think it could.
I don't think so.
It just seems like such a choice to go for
considering
color.
the amount of angels that have some sort of prescient sixth sense for where the Evas are.
Also, I'm gonna be real. Giant fucking mechs, I don't think you can really camouflage in any sense.
Also, specifically, Unit 2, Asuka.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Picks that color out. She wants it red.
Yeah.
That's her choice.
I wanted
why Unit
red.
1's purple, I genuinely don't know.
I genuinely just took that purely as like a stylistic thing.
Yeah. I also think it's just all to do with like...
I also think from out of universe thing. It's to differentiate them.
Pretty much, yeah. It's also a
Like when they're
marketing
fighting.
and like
I
toy
mean, they're
thing.
visually, they are already very different.
Uh-huh.
And because this was a question that I raised in episode 1, because I was like, the way they introduce them is very much, these are like their number one priority. I'm like,
Yeah, they're the
why you
super weapons,
care?
basically.
Yeah, but the Gundam's also introduced that way, and it is like 3-toned.
Yeah, I never understood that either.
Again, it's
just
not.
it's just the style.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Also, I think as far as you could put it, I guess if we want to stretch an actual explanation over it, and I'm fucking reaching here,
Better than nothing.
experimentational units,
Yeah, they'll have designations.
and also I'm only thinking of that now because that's also why the Gundam looks like that too.
Yeah, they're basically since they're like in development, they're basically marked as in
Yeah.
development like that.
Because even though Asuka says that Unit 2 is like the finished version, it's not the mass production version.
No.
I actually despise the design of the mass production versions. They are so creepy that we see in End of Eva with
Yeah.
the wings
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
mouths.
The beluga looking things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with the actual angel wings and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Those things
Yeah.
creep me out.
Yeah.
I love them.
I'm just going through because a lot of my notes are power cut would be a shame if an angel attacked.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
That-
Oh no!
Still
Every
one of my
single
favorite
time.
episodes,
Oh,
though.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that episode.
I think I make notes of some of my favorite episodes. I liked the volcano one,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
a good
yeah.
episode.
but there was some weird shit in it.
There's
What
weird
was,
shit
what was the
overall.
weird shit? And that one specifically, because, like, yeah, like
Yeah.
Shaun says, there's a weird shit in a lot of them.
They fucking inflate Asuka.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, they put, like, a cooling suit on her. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah, but,
pressure
like-
and heat. She's going into a fucking volcano.
She's fucking blueberried up.
Yeah, she's blueberried up.
Do you know how much pressure and heat there is
Yes.
and how far she's diving down? She needs that.
Look, no, we understand
we
the logic
understand
behind
that.
it. It's just, the way it looks.
The way they
Yeah,
make
it's
it frame
filled
it.
with coolant, though. I don't know what you expect it to look
I think-
like.
Well,
For
Melina-
a world that has Evas and shit, you don't think they could have negated, wow, that might be very fucking uncomfortable and look a bit fucking weird. That's the one thing
No
they
one's
couldn't
gonna see her.
solve.
She's in a cockpit of a mech.
I think we're corrupted.
Yeah, probably. It just, because especially the way that episode starts, it just felt like a weird shift in it. Because it starts with, ooh, let's go bikini shopping. Like, a few minutes later, I've inflated.
Okay, again, gonna stretch an interpretation here. Tying into the whole idea of like the show's puberty and adolescence thing.
Yeah.
Asuka definitely wants to be perceived in a certain way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And the coolant suit goes a ways to say that, her self-perception is always
Yeah.
going to be warped.
Yeah. I'd say that's a good interpretation.
I don't know. I'm pulling at straws
No, I'd
here
say that's a
on
good
the
one.
fly.
That's a good
Yeah,
way to
no,
think
it's
about
fine.
it.
You don't have to, like, defend it. I'm not
No, I'm
attacking
not
it in
necessarily
any way.
defending it in that sense. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, I'm looking for an explanation.
I mean, with the way the show, like the themes of the show, I'd say that's a pretty strong one.
Yeah.
Because, like, the one thing I have made note of that I just didn't particularly like is that because we have so many angels coming in and the stakes are, from the first one, they set them way too high. So the stakes kind of level off. So you stop caring because it doesn't get increasingly worse.
I wouldn't necessarily
yeah,
agree.
I wouldn't agree with that either.
It's just on the way they build the episodes because, as I mentioned, it becomes predictable.
I think
at some
things become
point.
progressively worse as
Yeah.
it goes on.
I think
I think it's a
like
bit more
4 or 5
subtler than what you were
angels.
expecting.
Yeah.
The way it gets worse, but it does get worse. I think.
No, the stakes to me didn't feel as high with the first one because I do like that they kind of throw Shinji in when he doesn't know. And my notes say, "Thank God he loses," because if he won straight away, I would say,
yeah.
So I think I do have an explanation for that in a sense of like the way I see up until things like properly like fall apart in the sense of like everything going to shit.
yeah,
Is that up until I want to say episode 16 or 17,
yeah,
it's all sort of like Shinji's journey to like some sort of enjoyment of life and confidence. And it's very much a false perception of it. So they're still in danger, but I think because we're seeing it so much through Shinji's lens, we're seeing it through his like overconfidence in his abilities. And so I think like to him the stakes level off, even though they're still in life-threatening danger constantly.
But if you continuously go to life-threatening, at some point that loses value as a hero.
I also think that may be an intentional thing as well. They become so accustomed to that sort of level of intensity that when things do hit their like absolute worst, they just aren't prepared. They're desensitized to the point that they aren't prepared for what happens.
This might be a little bit of a stretch and just my own interpretation as well, but I think the way like they do that as well is it also distracts you from the other kind of horror that's going on, like on the human side of things, that like they're living in like basically a military sort of dictatorship.
A little bit, yeah.
Because they're in New Tokyo 3.
Yeah.
Yes, just Tokyo 3.
Yeah, but it's administered and governed by an AI sort of computer thing.
Yeah.
The magic.
But
the magic.
Yeah. But like, and above that is a secret council of like old men that actually control everything else. But like, and that only really gets the focus on near the end, and it's a whole thing. But like at the beginning, you're so focused on the angels, it's sort of a background thing, and I feel that was very intentional. But like, I said to actually, to flesh out this idea even more, I even said to you like when I was watching the first few episodes that like I loved the feeling of a quiet apocalypse sort of thing, where like everything is so subtle and like normalized, but then they talk about seasons aren't a thing anymore since the second impact, and like things have, and like half the population died, and it's said so casually that you don't it's hard, you don't even register it for most of the show that catastrophic shit happened. And I feel like that's a very intentional thing that like is just basically distracted because the angels are just a more important threat. You can't think about that right now.
Because I mean, we find out that like as the series going on, more and more people are like leaving Tokyo 3. Like they're moving out. I mean, exactly.
I mean, by End of Evangelion, like Nerva's basically being massacred by the military, and they're the only people left.
Like everyone else has left.
Well, with like they mentioned in a few episodes, it's like angels keep attacking, and we have these Evas running around. You know, it's the whole Sokovia Accord thing. They're trying to do something good, but harm will be done.
There will be collateral.
Collateral damage will happen. So it's like, you know, still living in New York in the MCU. You just don't fucking do that.
Meanwhile, like with characters who's like have family members that are in the hospital because of this shit.
No. I just wondered because like as soon as I mentioned Tokyo 3, my first thought was, what happened to Tokyo 2?
So Tokyo 2 is still there.
They mentioned old Tokyo once.
So, I think the original Tokyo is flooded because of the rising sea levels.
They mentioned
Tokyo 2 is it's still around, and I think it is the official capital, and I think they built Tokyo 3 exclusively to
as an underground sort of like fortified city.
It's pretty much there to deal with the angels.
It's the House of Nerve, basically.
That's most of my questions, because the other ones are more observations, I would say. And a lot of things get semi-answered. Like, not answered in a way where it's this, but...
Heavy implications.
I'm like, okay, the answer's probably somewhere in here.
I would say don't take the whole, like, biblical iconography thing.
They show
as
biblically realistic angels. They kind of...
Yeah.
Biblically accurate angels.
A lot of that, I think, it's very much set dressing for just like a...
It's the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic choice, I think, for the most part.
It's very much how, like, a lot of Western things will take Eastern iconography.
Yeah,
and,
I was going to say,
have
like...
none of the meaning.
This is pretty much, like, all of the iconography devoid of, like...
meaning.
Written by someone who grew up with it. Like, if I wrote this, it would be completely different because, like, I grew up with the iconography meaning something.
Like, if you're gonna put all that Christian iconography in, you're even, like, unconsciously, you're going to put meaning in there because of how we were raised, basically, with those, like, stories and, like, that religion.
just a funny hee I want to mention. I love that. What's the kid's name that gets the fourth Eva?
Toji.
Toji. He shows up fucking T-posing, and I like that.
You're right.
What?
Yeah.
No, I feel like I remember
He's
that.
like, I think, was he like hanging on to a helicarrier or some stuff? And he's just
Wait,
T-posing.
you mean Kaoru?
No.
Are we talking? Hold on.
Oh, you mean when they carry in the fourth?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, he's not T-posing, he's on a fucking cross.
Oh, but then the iconography.
Nah, he T-posing.
No, he's not on a cross, because then we would have the limp little hands. He was T-posing hard.
Yeah.
No, he was...
they're installing his
thinking to
model into the game.
Because all the Evas are essentially transported like that.
Yeah.
So...
Except
funny.
for Asuka's. That one's just
No,
laying
I
flat.
think it's I think it is semi-transported in a cross, but I think because it's submerged, we don't see it. I think the head's
be.
just like...
I'll admit, at one point I expected them to just drop it in the sea like Megatron. That may have been because I was rewatching the Michael Bay Transformer movie in the background.
Nice. Do we want to talk the ending of the series?
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
I
we're gonna
think it's
go
a good
into
way-
the ending now.
I was very confused. Because
That's fair.
the way I split it up to watch it, I watched 20, 21, 23, 20, 21, 22, 23, same day.
Uh-huh.
Oof.
Then 24, 25, 26.
Oh, okay. If you had stopped at 24, that would have made perfect sense.
Yeah.
And then done 25 and 26
Yeah,
themselves.
but I didn't know.
No, of course.
You got
of course
one
you
more normal episode before shit hit
Yeah.
the fan.
Yeah, so I was like, let's sit down and finish. And I watched one episode, like, let me grab a drink.
This makes
and
sense.
it's as if someone switched something up. And I'm like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
happening?
and they accidentally sent you episode 30.
There's the crux of why End of Evangelion happened.
Yeah.
Because I
Yes.
distinctly remember watching this the first time too, sitting there on my bed with my laptop, 25 starts,
Yeah. You're
and
like,
I'm
okay.
pausing, coming out full screen on VLC, going to the folder. It
Yeah.
says 25, right?
I almost did that multiple times.
And then I get like halfway through 26 where it turns into just line drawings. And again, I'm like, this is definitely episode 26, right? And I think, I definitely do understand the, like, if you're watching that for the first time,
It's a lot.
it's a lot. And yeah, the ending is so sort of like, what the fuck?
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, because I think it could have been such a nice theme to have it throughout. Maybe starting your episodes, ending your episode with that small confessional bit. I don't know if
Yeah.
you had it woven throughout that it would feel less sudden, but that's me trying to fix something that's
Yeah, you're
already
right.
trying to fix itself.
Yeah, so...
Just for it to flow better, because it does kind of go from one thing fully
That's
to another.
That's the point. In a sense, it's the point. Because everything that happens in 25 and 26 is essentially happening
In Shinji's
the
mind.
last 40 minutes of the End of Evangelion.
Yeah, but as a first watch, you don't get that.
No, of
Yeah,
course, and
yeah,
that-
on your first time
Yeah,
watching,
and they
it comes
never
the fuck
wrote
out
it
of
with the
nowhere.
End of Evangelion in mind.
Which is so much
Hideki
worse.
Anno just had a
Yeah.
fucking, crisis, and that's what happened.
And
And I'm
basically
not kidding. That's
No, yeah,
actually...
no, I
It
believe
basically
that.
feels like he had a mental break, like right at the end of production, and then just ended it there.
yeah.
He's like, you guys got it? You got it? Okay.
I will say that comparing how the TV series ends versus how End of Evangelion ends, I see one as it ends with an idea of positive reinforcement, and the other one ends by saying, yeah, you can have all that positive reinforcement, but fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Because they essentially end in the same way, but then there's that last scene of End of Evangelion
fucking
that
last
just
scene.
fucking roots all of that up
Yeah.
and sticks up a middle finger to you.
Ew. I basically said
For
context of that, like basically the last sentiment of End of Evangelion right before it just ends is basically Asuka going ooh,
yeah.
like disgusting,
Yeah.
and that's it. That's the ending.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which it kind of uproots all the positive reinforcement that was going on up until
Because
then.
the whole thing of like episode 25 and 26 is like Shinji learning to like himself, and so through that being able to then accept others and form meaningful relationships, and also like other people by extension, and not run away from others, and to be essentially a functional human where he feels like he has a place and happiness,
grows
and,
up, basically.
and grows up. And that's what the whole congratulations things is. That's his internalization of all of these people congratulating him on reaching a point that everyone else understands.
Yeah. Like he can finally like form an actual genuine bond with them.
Yeah.
And like, watching it the second time, I actually started crying at it. And then the third time I started crying again because I was like, I've been through this journey myself.
Yeah.
Of self-acceptance and being able to form real human relationships and not feeling like I'm constantly having to push people away because I don't necessarily understand myself and how I can then interact with people off the back of that. And so it was like seeing that, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get what they were going for. It's that idea of like, I can like myself. That is an okay thing to do.
Yeah.
Flaws and all.
Yeah, exactly.
And we always have something to work on. And like, that's the whole point of the end of the TV series is Shinji literally going from being like this, I'm stuck in a rut. I hate myself. I don't want to be alive, to like sounding happy and energized. And then you have End of Evangelion doing the same thing. And then you just have Asuka saying how no, not even Asuka. She's not actually the problem in that scene.
She's just a victim in that scene.
It's Shinji fucking getting on top of her and strangling her. And it's like, what the fuck is the point of this scene? Because I don't understand what you're trying to add on to the message here.
It feels like it was literally just to conflict with everything.
Yeah, no, but that's how I sat with End of Evangelion, because me and Shaun talked about it briefly, where we were both kind of interested in the main plot of the series that they then just fully abandoned for the end. So you're like, okay, go back into it in End of Evangelion.
Which is why
then it opens and you're like, yes, let's get answers. And there he is jerking off in a hospital.
Yeah, there we go. Bringing it right out.
I'm like, this is not what I wanted!
I was wondering if we get through the episode without it coming up.
This is why I tried to set up a little earlier so it didn't come completely the fuck out of nowhere.
I mean,
like in the fucking show.
Don't say 14-year-olds do that, because no healthy 14-year-old
not in a fucking hospital.
No. And Shinji realizes that too. Like, he says how I'm fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to defend it. No, it's entirely a fucked up thing.
This is where you're like, actually.
No. And
I will strangle you if you do that.
I don't even have like a reasonable interpretation of what that scene is meant to add. Maybe it's
fucked up teenage years.
Maybe it's meant to be like this idea of like Shinji's sexual frustration over Asuka.
That's the only thing I can really...
Yeah, like their whole relationship is like predicated on the idea that Asuka kind of does actually like Shinji, and she's just not willing to admit it, and she goes so far as to almost
She does like the kid thing of like actively trying to like outwardly state that she hates him even though she wants to kiss him.
Yeah. And like I know what I'm about to say is certainly like victim blaming, and it's not. But in that way of like her saying outwardly she hates him, but also giving him clear signals that she's interested in him and likes him, she sort of like brings on this like approach from Shinji where he's like isn't sure what to do, and it's like, well, he clearly thinks that she likes him but hates him.
It's that whole like thing where like she doesn't really know her feelings or how to express them in any way, and because she doesn't know how to do that, it fucks with Shinji as well. Not because she's trying to fuck with him, or at least maybe not mostly.
No, and in some sense, in most senses, I don't think she is. I think it's like an unconscious side effect that she's doing.
It's not an intentional thing, but obviously Shinji is, because of his state on all of this, he's going to take that. He's going to be really confused, which can lead to frustration.
Yeah,
does not excuse.
No, it doesn't.
What is happening in that scene in the hospital? But you know,
that's why I've danced around using the word that keeps coming to mind in the sense that like, for most of the series, Asuka essentially teases Shinji in a sexual not in a sexual way, but like kind of a sexual tensiony sort of way.
Which is she's coming off as like playful and like flirty, but like in a non like serious way. Whereas like with Shinji's like, what the fuck are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's also showing the clear disconnect between like teenage boys and girls.
Yeah.
Because you know, you're
100%.
going on your individual journey that can be very different. And so she doesn't understand herself.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand himself.
And neither of them can understand each other.
Yeah, so it's just kind of, I'm going to do this. So this, I think, might happen.
He'll obviously interpret it this way, whereas he's like,
but how dare he interpret it that way?
Yeah.
Of course, like, it's so logical to her.
Yeah,
her
it
way
makes
of doing
perfect sense in
things.
her mind.
Yeah, you can tell she thinks what she knows is right. Until
because I don't think I think one thing that also comes down to is that she doesn't necessarily realize that the way she's treating Shinji and Shinji's perspective is similar in a sense to how she treats Kaji.
Yeah.
Where like
there are parallels there.
Where in the sense that like obviously she's openly stating she hates Shinji, but she's also clearly showing him some sort of attention and affection that she's not showing anyone else. And so from Shinji's perspective,
being vulnerable.
Yeah. And from Shinji's perspective, he's like, well, you're clearly pursuing him because you want to, have sex with him, even though that's heavily fucked up.
Yeah, but like she's a teenage girl.
Yeah, and thankfully in that sense, Kaji does not.
Yeah, Kaji's like no.
Yeah.
No, yeah, because I very much interpreted as someone who's like seeks the validation, mostly male validation, which is in teenage puberty and women that can happen. It's a thing,
but especially with some of like Asuka's like history with like her parents,
especially because we don't know much about her dad either.
I don't think her dad's in the picture.
From the implication I got from the one sort of flashback we really get that acknowledges her dad, he left early.
Yeah,
like
I don't think
he
she has
basically
any
neglected
memory.
and abandoned her at a young age.
Yeah,
which had a knock-on effect on sending her mother into the state where she was, which eventually, even more fucked up, led to her mother killing herself.
Yes, and then Asuka walking in and seeing that.
Yeah, which is going to fuck anyone up, especially a small child who's like, what, she's 5 at the time?
Yeah.
Which is why I don't... I've seen a little bit of sentiments on the very much stuff I read, or the little bit of stuff I've read about people who are like, oh, I hate Asuka because she's so like toxic and stuff, and I was like, no, but it's understandable.
It's understandable, yeah.
Because I think she's genuinely one of my favorite characters of the whole show.
Oh, I love Asuka, yeah.
Because I got where her story was coming from, like just the way she acted. I got what her story would basically be from the get go. Yeah, and I was so interested in that.
Yeah, like I really like her as a character and where she went. Just the German thing could have been dropped for all I care.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's not that important.
No.
It gets dropped after the first episode she's in anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there was like no point in it almost.
No, I think it's just like, again, flavor text.
Yeah,
in the sense of,
world building.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I really think that her relationship between a lot of characters is very interesting as like a representation of teenage girlhood.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of looking around, seeing the examples you have around you. She has Misato, which is not a great example.
Not a great example. And I think Asuka knows that at least.
Oh, yeah. No, she can tell from like, I know this ain't it, but I don't know what it should be.
Yeah. The thing about her is that internally she's very aware of what's happening. She knows she's not dumb.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
She understands. She's intelligent enough to recognize it, but she puts on the front.
Yeah. There's also like a slightly different overconfidence aspect to Asuka as well, where Asuka's like overconfident in life.
Yeah,
Shinji becomes overconfident in his piloting abilities.
The way I interpreted that was like, not to like jump on your point, but like the way she's doing that, because if she ever stops for like 1 second, she will collapse, and she does by the end at the end of the series. But like, and it sort of feeds into like she's doing all this as a front and a mask, because if she ever stops and ever like doesn't let herself do that, she will just break.
Though I think Asuka falling apart more comes down to, again, her need for a certain perception of herself, where like she steadily like falls into a pit because she sees that Shinji's doing better than her.
Yeah, which is basically the catalyst for like her decline, which just makes it worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, she gets in a negative feedback loop by the end.
Which I think is one of the most relatable character arcs I've seen in
I
anime.
felt that, yeah.
Like, you know, you're trying so hard that you're kind of clouding your head.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And it
okay,
becomes
no,
such a
calm
central
down.
part of your identity that like any
Yeah.
sort of person who, even from your perspective, just naturally does better without seeming without even trying, just makes you like question what you're even doing.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, you know, having an anxiety attack or a panic attack. You just kind of like, oh, I'm doing bad.
Yeah.
Why am I doing bad?
Yeah.
Oh my god, why is this happening?
Why
and
am
you're
I-
just increasingly getting worse, and then you get angry at yourself for getting worse, which then again makes it worse.
And then like you see other people who seemingly seem to do it so easily, and you're just like, but I'm trying so fucking hard,
Yeah.
but they can do it so easily. Why am I so
unfair.
fucking stupid?
Yeah, and so that you then have to take out on them through an attitude.
Yeah, they become the target basically.
Yeah, it's like, I hate you because you know how to deal with something that I don't know how to deal with.
Yeah.
And I'm going to express that in a way that you don't understand.
And you're taking the thing that if I don't have that, who what am I?
Yeah. Because if you take away that one thing from her, she has nothing.
Yeah.
That's all
It was
she's
the glue.
known. Yeah.
She's my favorite character.
Yeah,
No,
she is.
she's yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand Shinji, so I'm like...
I do.
Yeah, I do in a sense as well.
Because first time I watched it and read the manga and watched the rebuilds, I fucking despised Shinji so much. Like, I genuinely had like this massive hatred for him. Watching it again, second time, watching it the third time, I realized, oh, I hate you because I'm seeing a version of myself that at the time I first experienced all of this, I was still going through, because I was 18 when I watched it.
Yeah.
So I was still like, I had no clue what was going on in my life. I had just left high school. I had not a single clue what I wanted to be, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, who I was. I basically left all my friends behind in school because I just didn't want to associate with them anymore. I essentially cut myself off from everything.
The fuck
What
was that?
What the fuck?
Okay.
But I think it is a common like teenage experience.
Yeah.
And what the fuck is this?
Fucking Leatherface.
Is someone like very aggressively?
Oh, sorry. I think someone's drilling. Oh yeah, they're doing work on
Oh my god.
thing down the street.
No.
I don't think the mic should be picking that up.
I don't know. We'll see.
I hope to God you guys have no idea what the hell
Yeah.
we're talking about right now.
Anyway,
It's an
But
interpretation
yeah,
thing.
I think, you know, being a teenager and being in that developmental stage where you think, I've taken steps, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
I feel mature. And immediately you're like, I'm leaving everything behind.
yeah.
That,
Mine, I didn't necessarily do that in the sense of like, oh, I'm an adult, I'm going to leave everything behind. It was more so like, over the course of high school, I realized my high school friends weren't people I wanted to be around.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't regret that decision to this day, because they've gone off and done their own thing and are different people. And they're people I can get along with and I can chat with. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I
Reminisce a bit.
yeah, and I'd still consider them friends, but they're not people who I would consider.
Hanging out with all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider them friends that I would want to have for the rest of my life. Not like, not to get
Not
too
the
real.
main
This,
posse.
you guys are my core unit
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And
I mean, same here, just to like reflect that back.
Bestie.
Yeah, but like
work.
to be serious, yeah.
Yeah. And it took me a long time to form
Oh,
this.
yeah.
I met you guys almost 10 years. No, I met you guys 5,
Yeah, that's
6. No, I met you,
you
5
met me-
years.
Yeah, 5 years.
After I left high school. Because
It's been 5 years this year.
Yeah, holy shit.
God.
So I met you 5 years after I left high school, where I still think I was going through it mentally at the time.
Do you want to? If I'm going to admit something, I've been thinking about this since this whole conversation. I feel like I'm still kind of going through some of all that stuff, like right now.
I
I
think
mean, COVID didn't help.
No, COVID did not help.
No.
COVID pushed me along in a lot of ways.
Oh.
I feel like it did both, where like it hindered me in a lot of ways, but it like also pushed me forward. In ways.
Oh
And
yeah,
there's-
I feel stunted in some ways by
Yeah.
COVID. I struggle to. I love going to the cinema. I love going out not shopping, but like, you know,
Going around town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shopping.
I kind of can't bring myself to do that anymore. Some of that also goes into what I've been through in the last year, where it was like the decision to do any of that would put me in the precarious position of getting a phone call in the middle of any of it.
Yeah. Which obviously is going to hang over you and you can't really enjoy it, but
being in large crowds now,
it's weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's intensely
overwhelming.
anxiety inducing. Yeah. And so I kind of don't really go and do any of that anymore. So in that way, yeah, COVID stunted me. But as a personal growth thing, I don't know how, but I got to do a lot of it during COVID. And I feel like that's where I sort of matured into me as an, I don't want to say an adult, but like, yeah, probably.
Yeah. Like, for me, going off of like you saying you watched this like right after like leaving high school and stuff in that time, I feel like if I watched this myself around the same time, basically around when we met, like right around that time, I think I would be I'm not sure, I can't say for sure, because I was in a very turbulent time all throughout high school until basically like COVID happened, until I was able to stabilize myself. But like, there's a chance I could have absolutely despised the show and just like gotten a few episodes in and been like, no, I can't, and just rejected it outright.
Which is also, you know, a form of projection. Be like, I don't like this because it's me.
The thing is, I feel like I would have recognized like I just can't right now. I'll have to push this back to later.
I was not as emotionally intelligent back then, but I think that's because partially casting your mind back to 2014. Mental health and this whole idea of like being equipped to discuss and think about these sort of things was not a common thing.
No.
It's not really common now because a lot of people therapy speak when they don't know what it means.
Yeah, but at least it's a step towards like acknowledging it. Whereas like 10-ish years ago, that would have it was still kind of the common idea and like mindset to just like bottle it all in.
Yeah, don't talk about it.
Yeah. I don't want to hear that.
Don't be a Debbie Downer.
I don't want to hear that. Which is a dangerous mindset.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, I was watching it with all of that
internalized,
going through all of that, not, you know, being directionless and like sort of not even being able to commit to making decisions. And I only realized that watching it almost 10 years later that I saw myself in Shinji, and only now that I'm beyond that and have built myself as a person off the back of actually knowing and understanding that those are the issues I was facing, can I look at Shinji and go, no, I actually sympathize with what you're going through, because that's a very real thing that I think a lot of people do experience, is that arrested in indecision, that inability to make any decision for yourself because you feel like every decision you make could be the wrong one. It could be a mistake. It could fuck up people's perception of you. And so I hated Shinji for a long time until I realized I was looking at a reflection of myself. And now I really do sympathize with Shinji.
I sympathize with him a lot. Even like I can understand like not like and depending on your state, like not liking him, but I sympathized with him like immediately, just with like some stuff that rung true, even from like episode 1 and stuff, and how he felt on like certain relationships he was having. But also it's also the fact that like, because I am still in ways going through the same thing at this current moment in my life, like even just in the last year, I'm questioning stuff about myself for the first time. And I feel like I'm finding out more and more, which I haven't really gone in with you guys, obviously, because it's a very personal thing. But like, I might talk about it after we record this. I think watching it right at this time was like, in some ways, it was the perfect time, because I'm at a stage where I'm emotionally intelligent enough, I think, to recognize it all and be able to process it without rejecting it outright, while also still feeling a lot of it, which is why I think I was so into the show, even when I didn't understand it, like just off the bat immediately. Because I said it to you, like I was saying, I love this show, like even just in the first 5 eps.
Yeah, which I was very happy about.
And I do, even with all the confusing ending shit, I still think this is one of the best things we have seen.
Oh,
we have,
yeah.
like, covered on the show.
I'll fully admit, I don't fucking understand everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And I've watched it 3 times. I've read so much of the other adaptions, so much of the supplementary materials, so many of the other interpretations, all the conversations I've had with other people. I think it's a constant thing of no matter how many times you watch it, there's always going to be something that you feel you aren't getting, in the sense of maybe you aren't at that stage in life, maybe it's not a perspective you can ever have, maybe it's for someone else to see and you can't see it. So yeah, I think there's always going to be something that, you know, we as people, each person's going to be incapable of understanding, but you might understand it, or you might understand it, or I might understand it.
We'll all have aspects that we get completely.
Because I can't fully understand Asuka in the sense of I've never been a teenage girl.
What?
No. So I can only see it from the perspective of I understand being on the other side of that.
Yeah.
So I can only see it filtered through that perspective, which is why I was glad you've now seen it, because you can also lend, for most of the female characters, a perspective that I can't have.
Yeah.
We can't speak for you on that, obviously.
Obviously, you can't attest to, like,
womankind.
Yeah, exactly. You are all of them.
You can't attest to all aspects of womanhood, which is actually an interesting thing this show sort of dives into.
Because Rei and Asuka are very different.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Rei's got her own, like, sort of nature.
Misato and Ritsuko are massively different.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you've got the whole Magi being, you know, 3 different aspects of one woman.
Yeah.
One of which is explicitly like her woman's side, her mother side, and her scientist side.
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Which is
so I guess, you know, personal,
professional,
interpersonal, and professional. Yeah.
I would say emotional is probably.
Emotional. Yeah, sorry, that's probably the better description.
I mean, that is something, you know, I think everyone kind of relates to.
Yeah.
You put on, you're a different person
You
depending
always
on what
wear
you
different
do.
masks.
Yeah, everyone's got their own, like, professional face that they show their coworkers.
Yeah.
The face
that's my big fear of, like, showing anyone this podcast.
Is
it's a different mask.
Genuinely, it's why I find I can't. My family will talk about it, and, like, I'll obviously say, oh, I'm doing this, and they'll obviously want to, like, listen and stuff, but I can't recommend it because this
it's so bad. I just
because
can't
the version of
recommend
me
it.
that I show you guys is so different from, well, not so different, but, like,
it's a different version.
I'd say it's a completely different version of me that I show, like, my sisters and my dad, especially my mum. Maybe not so much my mum, but, like, they're still all very different versions of me.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, what I show you guys. Which I will admit feels the most real me.
Aww.
So you guys get that. But, like, it means when I show this podcast, I feel very vulnerable.
Yeah, same.
Like, so showing it to, like, anyone else.
Especially when we talk about stuff like this, when we talk about stuff like a silent voice, it's like we're sort of
exposing ourselves.
Yeah, I'm. If my family listen to it, they're gonna hear me talk about things that I've never ever told them about, which is why there's some stories I would love to tell. I can't because there's too much things that my parents would need to unpack.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much.
Yeah, but I think so. Most of us can relate. Like, you act differently depending on, you know. Let's say let's say this is professional, so to say.
Yeah.
This is the professional brain.
Pretend I'm your lecturer.
That is sort of like half and half. You know that when I host this, I go into a slightly different mode that you guys can probably tell.
You're going to host, Michael.
You can probably tell
you
now.
Become Rebel.
Yeah, pretty much. Rebelling is a mask I wear too.
Yeah.
You guys could probably tell at this point by, like, a change in the way I talk or the tone of my voice.
Yeah.
Like, there is a specific shift that I do for it.
Shaun, who do you like more, Rebel or Michael?
Oh God, don't make me choose.
It is one of those weird things that the internet also sort of lends itself to as well.
I mean, like, you're also gotta, when you're asking me that, you gotta ask me who you're asking, Shaun or Blue.
I've kind of in the past few years embraced trying to be one. Because I was always very like, I don't want my username to be anything with my name. I'm like a completely different person. I don't want my friends to follow me.
That comes from a thing that we all learned growing up, is that you don't put your personal information online.
Yeah, like we were heavily like educated in the sense that you do not share anything with anyone.
Now
online.
People just need to learn to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, now everyone shares.
There are things that Batman could not get out of me that people are openly just going on the internet, full name, and being like, yeah, I fucked my mother. What? I'm sorry, you what?
Christian?
Absolutely, yeah. And I, over the past, I think, 2 years, have kind of started to embrace using my name, because it wasn't that very much I was like, oh, I don't want to use my name because fucking Facebook exists. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I was very much, oh, I don't want my name to be found if someone Googles my name. I don't want to find this and that. I'm like, no, if I did it, there was a time in my life where I said or did certain things that make sense
it's
to me.
It's accountability,
Yeah. And I was like, I debated when we started the podcast, I was like, oh, should I go under a pseudonym or something? Like, no. This feels most me.
Yeah.
And I've really learned to like me for me.
Yeah.
So fuck it.
I'll say I'm happy.
Me.
I've been happy to put my name on here just on the fact that like
I'm being put on the spot here with this.
hey, if you don't want to say anything,
fine.
we won't.
No. It's weird. Like the whole Notorious thing is like a thing I crafted out of that whole idea.
Like for where I was going, I was basically purely going in mind. I wasn't even thinking of your Rebel
I
thing.
suddenly was like, hold on, I'm the only one that doesn't use their real name.
You've got a reason to. You've got like an actual like online
Presence.
That's not how I would put it.
Compared to us,
I guess in the sense, yeah.
Because like I don't use. There's nowhere that I recognizely really use another name. I have a username that isn't my actual name. And
I'd never call you Blue, but then
no one calls me Blue.
So,
but the thing is, I'm not in like spaces really because I'm also like not as social even online compared to like most people. Like if I were to ever introduce my place where I don't know someone personally, I would say you know call me Blue or call me like Moon or whatever.
Yeah.
Or whatever whatever nickname you want from my username that feels right. And I wouldn't want them to use my real name, but like that I don't go into spaces enough where that's a thing. So like I haven't built up that feeling of an attachment to any of that. So on a place like this, I'm happy to use like just Shaun as my name and that's it.
I think for me it's not necessarily like there's the attachment to the name. For me it's more I need a way of being able to turn off.
Yeah, you need that wall.
Yeah, I need a clear way of being able to put down Twitter, put down Discord.
You need that brick in the wall.
Yeah, I need that brick in the wall. Let's not fucking start on the fucking Pink Floyd shit. Man.
Sorry, I brought that up because you were watching like
I was watching the Folding Ideas video
on Dog Walker talking about the wall. Because that's where we are in our YouTube recommendations right now.
Oh, nice.
So it's just a way for me to be able to, I think, not become overly invested in
I think that's good.
internet shenanigans because I just don't
have the energy.
Have the energy, no. So I need to be able to turn off at night. I need to be able to go to sleep. I need to be able to not feel like it's a personal attack on me or anything like that. And I have friends who only know me as Rebel, but it's like they still know me. The version of me they get is pretty close to what you guys know. Maybe just altered a little bit because we talk about different things.
Yeah, that's just natural.
But I'd say the delineation between me, Michael, and Rebel is very little difference. It's just pretty much a way of me being able to flick off the lights at night.
Yeah.
And I think in a professional capacity, that's also something I very much would need too if this ever goes anywhere. Like the ability to just stop recording and go, okay, I'm not Rebel anymore. That's for me. That's fine.
The mask is off.
Yeah, it's not necessarily playing a character because I'm not going to go into the 2012 internet.
No
bullshit. All that.
Oh no.
It's more you just put on a hat.
Yeah, I put on a hat.
You put on your work clothes. Birthday hat.
Rebel Notorious is extroverted. Michael is mostly introverted.
Yeah. I mean, we all we have these recording dates, which are quite long. At the end of it, we don't talk.
No, I am telling you guys to get the fuck out my house.
Sometimes I feel better because we do talk on the way back, but sometimes I'm like, I just want to shut
bullshit.
up. Yeah, it's about bullshit, and sometimes I'll just like stare out the window like, should I keep talking or no? I don't really feel
it's funny because
we
you guys sort of devolve into nonsense when you're like that socially exhausted. I just shut off.
Yeah.
We have a specific wavelength only we understand.
Yeah, you guys are doing that, and I'm just.
We're like, buzzing like bees. Where you just hear zzz, and we're like, blue?
I give back the brain cell we share to you. and I occupy my time with the brain cell we share.
I'm just waiting for that.
Cell.
No, it's like a little gummy bear.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for that brain cell to hit the corner like the DVD logo. For thought to occur. Oh no, none of the effects are turned up.
No!
Not this time.
I'm not doing it. I'm not turning 2 dials.
So yeah, going back to
Evangelion. No, this is the thing, is that every conversation about Evangelion becomes...
a lot of,
yeah.
There's no other way we could do this episode without it getting very, not personal, because that sounds like it's too much, but like very introspective. Yeah. Because that's what the show wants.
A couple of the...
Oh, it happened again.
Yeah.
Shaun, you move.
No.
I don't know why it's your headphones that are doing
I'm just going to put my legs up here.
The couple of people I sort of like let in the loop before I put up like the ad tweet, I guess you can call it, the announcement tweet for this episode is like the few people I told were like, no, I'm really interested in how the episode's going to turn out because the conversations are going to be insane.
Yeah.
Not just about Eva, but like in the sense of where it leads you down.
Yeah,
the
because
rabbit hole it takes you.
It's a necessity that you have to acknowledge where you're coming from in life,
and it's going to be it's going to be real weird sitting there about to hit that upload button, even though it's going to come out like a month after we've recorded this, because I want time to be able to do a little bit of work to promote it.
I hope you do like that trailer that you said you might do.
I do want to do a trailer, but yeah, it's going to be weird sitting there with ready to click that upload button, because it's like, we are being quite open about stuff.
Yeah. Like just like in the past like 20 minutes I've talked about stuff I've never told anyone.
Yeah.
Even just like a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think you guys can tell in calls and stuff I can be very closed off.
Yeah, and sometimes.
And there are times I do really want to open up, but my mind goes blank in the situations where it comes up, and I can't.
Yeah, there's a couple of times...
It's something I want to work on myself. But like,
there's a couple of times I've worried that like we've maybe not picked up on a signal of you wanting us to ask something.
Honestly, no. You see, the thing is, I feel like I've sent a signal that I'd want you guys to pick up on, but I feel terrible doing that because I don't want to put that on you guys.
No,
I want to be honest and upfront with you guys.
As long as you
the time.
don't tell me you've committed a murder.
Yeah.
There was this one time, and this is where it really became obvious that like I'm sometimes way too closed off. It was when we were doing like I think it was a Jackbox game or whatever, and like one of the prompts was like, who's most likely to have a secret other life, and you guys both picked me.
Yeah,
and I was genuinely like, oh, I get it, but I didn't expect that.
It's more you'd accidentally forget to tell us.
Yeah.
Hey, that's you.
No, oh, did I tell you?
Yeah, Melina appends things to stories that are actually really important.
Yes. I'm an info dumper.
Yeah. Sometimes
and we love you for it.
Just go, oh, hey, I forgot to mention this at all, and we weren't even talking about anything.
Yeah, because sometimes the way my mind works, it just pops in.
Yeah.
When because there's in the back of my mind is like always doing something. Is like always doing something, and sometimes I'll admit I get lost in that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like there's a back of my mind that's constantly like going on, and then sometimes it'll just lead into something I want to talk about that I forgot too early, and I was like, oh shit, if I don't bring it up now, I never will.
Just do it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Which is why sometimes I just suddenly come out with the most random ideas in the middle of a conversation.
I do the same thing almost every week. We just play something random. I'm like, oh, I watched this, by the way.
I mean, we all do that.
The thing is, it feels like, and this is purely a my perspective thing, it feels like you guys do it more naturally, whereas I just sort of shove it in.
Oh, no, it feels the same.
We were playing Lethal Company the other night, and I just went to Melina, do you know anything about Dark Souls? Out of nowhere. And my response, nope.
Oh, yeah. That is how I would have expected that.
And my brain went, I don't know where to go from there.
Well, I tried.
Yep.
Oh, I don't even know where to go from here.
No, how do we even come back to Ava? Where even were we? We were talking about the characters.
The end of Evangelion. We
The
were
end,
kind of
lost,
talking
yeah.
about the end.
Which is fair. The end gets lost in the end.
Yeah. The end is never the,
The
end is never the end is never.
the end.
One day I want you to play Stanley Parable. Nothing to do with anything else. I just want you to play Stanley Parable.
Good luck.
There we go. See, that's it. That's it happening there.
Yeah. So the end, I think, is like a really great experience.
Yeah,
Yes,
I will say I
visually.
feel a lot more complete having watched the end of Evangelion compared to just watching the end of the series.
Absolutely.
But I even think from like a standpoint of a production, it's an insanely like satisfying experience. Even if you don't fully understand it, I think it's like the action is such a step up from stuff we see in the TV show, because we don't really see a lot of it, and I think probably writing around the Avas for the majority of the series is down to we don't really have the time or money to animate that sort of thing. So yeah, the confrontation of this episode is going to be them taking a pot shot with a sniper rifle from really far away.
Yeah, which I mean can be cool.
Which is cool, but you know,
Yeah.
compared to a
It's not
hand-to-hand
exactly high
fist fight,
spectacle.
It's not Asuka picking up a giant UN Navy craft and using it to fight off missiles and various other military.
Yeah.
We've gone this far. We've not even talked about what I will. That's genuinely my favorite scene of the
I think
everything.
I think
Asuka's
most
final
people-
stand.
Yeah, Asuka's
Yeah.
final stand. I think if you ask most people, that's like a huge part that sticks in their
Yeah.
mind.
It's the fact that it's a culmination of her entire emotional journey up to that point where she's gotten past like the darkest part of like herself and is just rising like a phoenix.
For her, it's like pure emotional catharsis.
Burning in the ashes quite literally up until the end, but like it is I felt so happy for her. I felt so cathartic for her that
Yeah.
like genuinely it was like it was like I was transcending watching that.
Yeah, no, it's sort of like stuff like that is I think why it feels like such an experience.
Yeah.
I would love to see this in the cinema, like on a big screen. That would be amazing.
To have seen this in the cinema at the time would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just be ushered out after it hits Finn.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, right, fuck off.
Away with ye.
Oh, no credits, no time to just
We had-
absorb and
We had the credits.
decompress.
They were half an hour ago.
It gets very cerebral later on, though.
yes.
There are a lot of. I really appreciate the like live action sort of
Yeah.
stuff they do,
Yeah.
because it's really well shot.
Yeah, it is, and I like that it adds that meta like sense to the whole thing, which the original like finale for the series also had.
Yeah.
Like that was when I said to you I wasn't sure if this was a stylistic thing or production was actually falling
No,
apart.
no, that I think was
It
like
felt
a
very
s-
on purpose.
Yeah.
Like on purpose.
I think for what we can see as a final result in the version we watch, because obviously we watched the director's cut episodes, which I realize I haven't mentioned. We'll come back to. I think we're seeing like a more complete production here than probably what you would have got on air, which maybe probably would have felt like it was falling apart. Whereas I think on third viewing that this is a much more complete package thanks to some retroactive work that they've been able to do, which is funny because director's cut, quote unquote, is like just a very common thing in the industry now to go back after something has been broadcast and fix the animation.
It's very much there's like enough differences where it's enough where like an original version is like retained as like some value, whereas I feel like in this situation it more just feels like the original version was just very incomplete.
So the original, more so than modern anime, I think the original versions are retained here because
Like I'm basing this off like the Blade Runner definition of director's cut.
I mean they retain the original version here, I think, because there are such stark differences in some of it, and I think in that way that the director's cut episodes kind of more naturally lead into End of Evangelion, whereas the on-air versions lead more naturally into.
You did say to me at one point that like one of the things they added in one of the director's things for the episode was a full-on setup for End of when they throw the lance. to the
Yeah.
moon. That's a straight up like just foreshadowing for End of Eva. I want to ask, by the way, did we actually explain what the director's cut stuff was to you? Because you only explained it to me.
That's why I
when
mentioned. I
was watching
realized
it.
I haven't mentioned it.
Go ahead.
So episode 21, 22, 23, and 24, you may have noticed on the title cards have a little apostrophe next to the episode number, and that demarcates that they are the director's cut versions.
I didn't notice that.
Which is also why End of Evangelion, the title cards also have apostrophes next to 25 and 26 because
did
they
notice
are also technically the director's cut episodes.
They're more like reinterpretation
They are.
slash other point of view.
Yeah, which is why there's only ever been like one version of like them being released as actual episodes, and they're that's included as like a bonus on the current release. But by no means is it the best way to watch it. So yeah, they were aired on TV, but due to like time constraints, but also like time slot constraints.
Because those episodes when we watched were slightly longer.
Yeah, so some of them hit almost 30 minutes.
Yes.
Whereas because of ad breaks, your average anime episode has to be about 23 minutes 40 seconds.
Like a lot of TV, especially at that time.
Yeah. If it's in America, more ad break space, so probably around 20-ish minutes.
Yep.
But yeah, so 23 minutes 40 is roughly the average anime episode length, and so the storyboards were made, but they had to cut some stuff, but also some stuff wasn't finished, and so the director's cut served to be a bit more clear on the intention, but also there were a couple episodes that were reworked to better set up End of Evangelion, because the Laserdisc VHS release would have come out more closer to End of Evangelion's theatrical release, which is why, not why those episodes exist, but they do end up lending more to. So it's almost like two paths where you could split at episode 21 and watch the on-air versions, as they're called, or watch the director's cut versions. But I think as a more complete experience,
Director's cut was the way to go.
Director's cut's the way to go, because you can just kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, like you're still getting everything from the on-air version, just with extra stuff.
The only real major difference is that at the end of episode 24, you don't get an episode preview for episode 25. You get an episode preview. You get an animatic episode preview of End of Evangelion. Because you see a little bit of the animatic of Asuka's battle.
You're right, you do. Holy shit.
Yeah, I didn't notice that until this time round, where I was like, oh, that's not episode 25.
You said it to me, but I didn't even realize that was what that was until I've just now, because I've seen End of Eva.
Because it comes up saying episode 25 air, which is obviously End of Evangelion's first half is air. And then obviously the last part is Love is Destruction, I think. Yeah. And then it's... I can't remember what the name of episode 25 is, but the finale is called Take Care of Yourself. Every episode actually has two titles, so...
Exactly. I noticed that. I know one of the titles for like the last episode is just I Love You.
Yes,
That was sweet.
So yeah, that's the director's cut / on-air version, so... but yeah, like I said, it's sort of a more commonplace practice in the industry now, not to like extend the runtime, but like productions are so fucking up against the wall now, and
which says something about the industry, doesn't it?
Yes, and production schedules are just not a thing, really. So yeah, you end up with like them getting redrawn, a lot of stuff getting redrawn for the home video release. So
that's about right.
Yeah, oh my god, we are over 2 hours.
Okay.
No!
Shall we get into our individual scores with information as to why?
Yes, so...
Are we ready to conclude?
Yes, we'll start wrapping up. Score the show and then score End of Eva. I don't feel like I need to make that, but I'm just wanting to be clear that that's...
Yeah.
Because they are two distinct entities.
Yes.
So who wants to...
Two pieces of the puzzle.
Yes. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I just want to get it out of the way. So I think I'll give the show... Well, yeah, because I'll be thinking about it too much if I let you guys go first. So I think I want to give the show, my first gut instinct is an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Because I'll admit it's really the ending that just sort of makes it not go for a straight 10, because I can't understand it. Even. It's not because it's bad, it's just... There's so much energy I have to put in to wrap my head around it, and just like it goes into my own interpretation things to a point where a score at that point wouldn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But overall, the show itself felt like a straight 8 out of 10, a
Nice.
strong 8 out of 10, because I love outside of all the thinking and sort of like interpretative stuff. It was just a fun ride.
Yeah.
I like the aesthetic. I'm more partial to liking mech stuff, so I liked all that stuff. I liked the military sort of like aesthetic of all the things and like the workstations and all that. It's just,
You can tell that like half of the staff were, military otaku.
yeah.
Because it's insane.
Yeah, it was good shit.
Especially End of Eva when like
Yeah.
all of the missile tank things start rolling out and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, they clearly
They have an idea.
yeah.
I love all the characters and how they work off each other and their own relationships. It's just really good. It's just that last little part for me. I'm not even saying it's bad. It's just it's so disconnected from the rest of it that I can't give it a straight perfect 10.
Yeah.
Off of that. End of Eva, I'm going to give a 9
Nice.
out of 10. I actually started this recording thinking I would dislike it more than the show, but I actually think as an overall package I like it more. Because it gives it gives all the catharsis and conclusion to the show that I felt I needed.
Bro, what the
Fuck off, Thomas!
Thomas the Tank Engine
Yeah.
is causing a ruckus.
Yeah.
It gave a conclusion to the show. I genuinely told you at one point when it came to like the end movie, like episode 25 title card, I punched the air. Like I was hyped. I was so ready because I was like, yes, this is the actual conclusion I want.
And then the third impact started.
Yeah, but like even at that point, I was like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I got what I needed.
There's more preparation for
Yeah.
the direction that End of Evangelion takes in its ending.
And End of Eva has Asuka's last stand.
Fair enough.
What more do I need?
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Okay.
That's it. That's how I want to end it right there.
Melina. We know it's going to be lore.
No, yes.
Like we
It's
aren't
gonna-
expecting.
It's fantastic, I think.
I for the series, because I have to say mechs are not my thing.
Yeah,
So
we know.
that's not something that I would gravitate towards liking. I found some of the episodes a bit repetitive, as I mentioned, with the angels, and a lot of it just didn't understand. But that's because it's the first watch through. So
Yeah.
I would go for a 6. I'm not gonna do points.
Okay. I thought you were going to be like 6.48 or something like that. You
Well,
fucking
if you want to
weirdo.
know, it's 6.25.
Oh no! It's
Oh, I was hoping for 27.
No.
it's either whole number or 0.5. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
allow. So yeah, 6. We're rounding down.
If we want to be into complete detail, my exact ranking of the show is 8.24567
Oh my god!
I hate both of you.
don't know. Mine makes sense.
No, we're not getting into this. Thursday is not 21 or 17.
Yes, it is.
I will make it so.
Anyway.
And yeah, along with what Shaun said, the ending just kind of leaves you wanting
Yeah.
more and not necessarily disappointed. Just, huh?
Yeah, you're just sort of dumbfounded.
Yeah, you're like, I don't think I understand
Yeah.
what was going
Yeah.
Like,
on.
okay.
Okay, so what now? Like, no, that's it. Like, What?
It is that gif of just, okay.
Okay.
Or the Gora Mike Galaxy brain.
Yeah.
End of Evangelion 6.5.
Not
bad.
more higher than I thought it would be. I thought maybe it would bump up to a 7 or a 7.5 for you, but that's fair
Again,
enough.
there's just some things that leave me a little too confused.
Mm.
'Cause
Yeah.
that is like mainly how I decide whether I like or dislike
Yeah.
a movie. Is
Yeah.
at the ending, do you go with like, wow, they all wove it so nicely together, or what?
Or it fell apart.
Yeah, because I've been watching a lot of Lynch stuff with Manuel, and I hate it because
Yeah.
it ends, and I was like, so
To be fair,
What?
I'll admit the minuscule amount of Lynch I've seen, I think I fucking hate his style as well.
it's because
I think I fundamentally like different things from you guys.
I will say I've not fully watched like much Lynch stuff. Like I've not watched Twin Peaks or anything
Yeah.
like that. So maybe if I actually like that, I'd get something. And
I
that's
think
which
I
might.
just like that cerebral thing.
see, I don't get it.
For me, it can
I
be
don't
too
get it.
much.
I think it's to me it always just sounds like an excuse. Like it's supposed to be dreamlike.
Yeah.
No, it's just shittily written.
For
I'm
me-
sorry. The dialogue
Sometimes
makes no
it can
sense.
be. I think sometimes you can
Yeah.
feel the intent in it.
I think for me, I can get caught up in the mindset that like when when I consume that stuff, to me, it feels too much like it's someone just going, I am an artist. I am
Yeah, I get
intelligent. Witness me and my majesty. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like that's... I do understand what he tries to do, but I don't think saying something is dreamlike can be an excuse for kind of...
Yeah, sometimes it is just an
mediocre
excuse to just say, I
plot.
didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know if with Lynch that's the case, but...
Yeah.
You should. Have you watched Dune yet? Like his version of Dune?
No.
It's fucking awful.
You see, the thing, I didn't want to invoke his version of Dune because I was like, does that count? Because even he hates that.
It's still
Yeah.
his fucking movie, as much
Yeah.
as he wants to say it's not.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my score, so I'll wrap up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coherent makes sense.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can or if I need to offer an explanation because obviously we've talked
We've
about
had a
it.
whole-
Don't feel like you need to.
Yeah.
And I think both of you guys have heard my opinions on Eva several times before, and I think I've mentioned it a couple of times in the podcast before. I genuinely have a love for this franchise. I think it's so close to being both of them have the same score for me.
Yeah.
Both of them are so close to a 10 out of 10. My big problem is that it comes down to, even though the TV show has a positive ending, and obviously, like I mentioned, End of Evangelion canon does that, it's more so that both of them still feel like a negativity loop where there is no... You know, you watch things that are challenging or things that deal with this sort of subject matter, and it feels like they're striving for a message or striving to reach a sense of progression.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't ever feel like Ava hits that point. I feel like it's still some sort of like...
It gets stuck.
It gets stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of
I see that.
repeating
Yeah.
loop. And for me, that's the thing, is that I don't feel like I...
It's that last scene of fucking End, isn't it?
Yeah, it for me, it doesn't have a... I mean, the end of the TV show does have a positive idea.
Yeah, like at least congratulations feels conclusive on some sense.
Yeah, but I think still fundamentally underneath, Anno is too stuck in whatever
Yeah.
he, where he was, that it does just feel like...
Flat.
Yeah, I can't remember. A friend described it to me in a way that I was like, oh no, that's it. That's the best way to sum it up, is it's like, it's negativity without the reason of being better.
Yeah, it's negativity without the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no sense of betterment. There's no sense of I want to be a better person, and
There's no even like little sprinkle of hopeful note.
and I think that's my issue. So both the TV show and End of Eva are a 9 for me. Both of them are really highly rated. I fucking love this. Love them.
Yeah, they're like it's really good. And I said to you just before we started recording, I am going to watch this again at some point, and I want to own it at some point.
Yeah.
I want it as a place on my shelf that I can grab and put on. But I don't think it'll ever be a complete 10 out of 10 because there will always be something I don't think I quite understand.
I would love to give End a 10 out of 10 because, and you're going to hate me for saying this, I think as an experience and a piece of artistic expression, it is unrivaled. But
Yeah, I
like
get
you
it.
say, some of it can be encapsulated and they're trying to say something, but it almost feels like being obtuse is lazy in that sense. But yeah, it's yeah. 9 out of 10, both of them.
That all makes sense.
Yeah.
If I may offer one final note, I think this is one of those series/movies that belongs in a category where the movie itself can be liked or disliked, but the conversations you have after watching it are the best.
Yeah.
I've seen several
They're part of the experience, I'd say.
Yeah. I've seen several like artsy films where like, oh my god, I hated it, but then you talk about it with people and you're like, wow, this conversation is so much more interesting than the film itself.
I wouldn't say that for
No,
Yeah,
but
no, I
you
get
get
what
what
you
I
mean.
mean. Yeah.
It's the thing with like the discussion is an integral part of the
Yes.
Eva experience. It's
Exactly.
why it was so hard to not look at like forums or like chat rooms
Yeah.
or like you just subreddits about Eva like after watching it, because you have that intrinsic need to reach out to other
Yeah.
people and understand, which
Yeah.
motherfuckers, that was the message, wasn't it?
Yep.
Pieces of shit, they got me.
Yeah.
So I think we are
we
here
done?
at the
Yeah.
end of our
The end of Evangelion.
one of our longest episodes on
Definitely.
this channel.
This is not the end of Anime Lane.
No, it's our the only episode that comes close to this is our first episode, which I think by the time I had finished cutting it, because I did cut stuff out of that, it was 1 hour and 45. So I think we've beat it.
Nice.
If anything was going to do it, it was going to be Eva.
Yeah, I think we might have surpassed our longest episode over on Nap as well.
Wow.
Just by like a few minutes, possibly.
Fuck yeah.
So yeah, I sort of expected a little bit longer, but considering the editing, I'm glad it's not, because Premiere doesn't like anything over 3 hours. So or not Premiere, After Effects doesn't like anything over 3 hours. So thank fuck in that regard. No, I've enjoyed this. I've been super excited. I've not been this excited for a long time to cover something. I was worried that when we picked it, I was being selfish in the sense of like pushing it.
I was excited to like pick Eva as well, because I'd had interest in it and I wanted to watch it.
But I always like putting things to a group decision, but I really pushed for Ava to be there.
Eventually, I would have also picked up on it, because I'm like, people speak so highly of it. I want to see it.
That's why eventually we are going to watch Pat Labor.
It's coming whether you like it or not.
We'll see. We'll get there.
It's hilarious, because if you get hung up on the fact that Pat Labor is about mechs when the mechs are barely actually in it in the movies, I will kill you.
Fucking watch me.
Because the second movie specifically is like a political drama rather than a mech thing. But yeah,
be sure to hate it on principle now.
Will do.
That may be the end of Anime Lane. Thank you guys for listening. I guess the last thing I'm gonna bring up now is that we have a Buy Me a Coffee link now. So that'll be in the description. It'll also be on our Twitter. You can go follow us on Twitter. Subscribe, please. That would be helpful too.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
If you stuck all the way to the end, I would like to think that maybe you were interested enough to hear more of us. So
I hope we were entertaining in our conversation enough that you could maybe check out the other episodes.
Yeah. So
they're right there. They're right there.
Yeah, press it.
Buy Me the Coffee links in the description, but don't feel any pressure.
Absolutely not.
To tip us or donate to us or whatever you want to call it. It's just a thing where if people really appreciate what we do, they can send us.
Give us a nice little surprise.
Yeah.
Even comments are appreciated.
Even comments.
Absolutely. We see you, guy, who recognized Melina's
Hell yeah.
Napcast intro in Anime Lane.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
If you're not in the financial stability to tip, don't
fucking do it.
Don't do it.
And for the
prioritize
love of God,
yourself.
If I can't turn off the subscription option, don't subscribe, because we can't offer anything now.
No, we really can't.
There's not going to be much extra content outside of maybe hearing the little weird conversation we had at the beginning of each episode or the
They're
end.
very entertaining.
Oh yeah, they are such a treat of screaming.
They are nothing burgers.
What?
Shut up.
You will ask for a refund if that was what you came for.
But then they'll finally learn why I screamed. This was the fucking intro on one of the episodes.
I need to go back and find that one. So yeah, that's it. That's the episode. Thank you.
We're gonna go have a little cry.
Yeah,
I need.
I really need to go piss so bad.
Weak. You should have just got up and done it.
No.
I'm the host.
Yeah.
What would happen if we were left to talk, Shaun?
We'd find a way. God damn it.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. I don't know what the fuck it's gonna be about. Bye.
How disgusting.